Welcome to our regular council meeting for March 3rd, 2026. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If we can all please remain standing for a moment of silence for our first responders and military members, please. Thank you. May be seated. Roll call.
Roll call. Councilmember Paul.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Semmer.
Present.
Mayor Moran.
Present.
For the record, Councilmember Roth and Councilmember Wallace are not in attendance.
Thank you. Closed session announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The City Council met in closed session to discuss the one item on this evening's closed session agenda. Direction was provided. No reportable action was taken. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Council, are there any changes to the agenda at this time?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I would like to request that we pull item number 6 from the consent for separate discussion.
Item number 6.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And because I think this is premature, in item number 16 to put at a later meeting at some time, because we still don't have a strategic plan and everything in place.
Item what, I'm sorry?
Number 16, if we can move that to another meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, staff would also recommend that the City Council continue item number 9 as well.
And so, item number 6, no, I'm sorry, item number 16, that needs to be continued.
I believe legal said that number 9 should be continued.
Yes. And so for those two items that need to be continued, we're going to need a vote. We're going to need a motion and a second and then a vote. Right?
I'll make the motion.
So I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second, roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Paul.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Semmer.
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
Okay. Anything else on consent? If not, then I will entertain a motion. Wait,
You need to,
yes. Is there any, so at this time, 7:03, I will,
citizens' comments.
yes. So is there any comments, questions, anyone on the phone in regards to the consent agenda? Anyone in the chamber? Seeing none, closing the citizen comments at 7:04. Roll call for the consent agenda, for the changes.
I think we skipped citizens' comment and everything else.
So,
I know you guys did the roll call for
To-
pull items.
Yeah.
To pull items.
You need to go to citizens' comment and so forth. Okay.
okay. All right, so we'll hold on the consent agenda. At this time, we'll do citizen comments again. Citizen comments will be on any item that is not on the agenda. 7:04, anyone on the phone? Hearing none, coming back to the chamber, is there any citizen comments in the chamber at 7:04? Seeing none, closing the citizen comments at 7:05. Next, we have county supervisors' announcements and reports. Supervisor Jim Pacheco.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. First thing I wanted to I apologize, I missed the last meeting, but I did attend the Livingston Community Fair, and I just want to commend everybody that put that together. I think it was a great event, good program, not only have a good dinner, but it was kind of nice to see so many agencies and different services available for the residents of Livingston. It's nice that you put that on. I think it was a great event, so I was happy to attend that. I attended the Legislative NACO conference in Washington, D.C. last week. And before that, we went and met with representatives from Senator Schiff's office, Senator Padilla's office, and Congressman Adam Gray's office. Our whole Board of Supervisors went up, and we met with different agencies regarding some issues within Merced County for water, transportation, and public safety. Very positive meeting. I know last year when we went, there was a little bit of, nobody knew what was going to happen because it was a new administration, but I think now these days, everybody knows the direction, so we got a lot of positive feedback. So I think some things we discussed was the Mission Parkway project, our Black Rascal Flood Control project. So, but yeah, it was a very positive meeting. And we had our board meeting today, and one thing of note is the board has started the process of leveraging our Measure V funds to sell a bond so that we can have some projects throughout the county. District 1's going to get several projects, and one that's here close to Livingston is the west side. We're going to have west side from 140, gosh, I can't remember, but we're going to have a good portion of west side is going to get repaved here in Livingston. And the good thing is if this all goes through, these projects are going to need to be pretty much finished within 3 years or so. So we'll get a big chunk of roads done in a short amount of time for that. That's all I have to report tonight. Does anybody have anything else for me?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I kind of drew a blank. You said that county is looking to do a bond for their Measure V projects?
Yeah, so.
Or are you looking at overall MCAG getting bonds to move some of these larger projects forward? Because I thought, wouldn't that be something to think about as well?
Say that again?
Okay, you said that you were looking,
The county.
county, not you personally, but the county, to float a bond for county projects. Are you talking about the match, or are you looking at adding some projects to move the projects forward faster? What are you looking at?
Well, so this is just the county leveraging our portion of the Measure V funds. And we have identified projects throughout the county. Each district's got some projects. And yeah, we have these projects that we're going to do these, but we also, what we don't use, we'll still have Measure V funds left over that we're going to do our regular project. These are going to be in addition to that.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, and so it'll be a block of projects throughout the county that as soon as we can get the bond through, we'll start working on that and hopefully, like I say, get all these projects done within about 3 years.
All right, thank you. I was kind of confused. Thank you very much.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have announcements and reports. City staff announcements and reports.
Good evening, council, members of the public. Anthony Chavarria, Public Works. I just have a quick update on the temporary four-way stop installation. It has been completed. The striping has been completed, and the installation of the stop signs has been completed. Everything seems to be working fine at the moment.
Yeah, it looks great. I went through there. I'm glad that I recognized from a distance. Otherwise, I probably would have been the first one to get a ticket out there.
That's why I put those flashing LED lights.
It looks good. Thank you.
Anthony, if you can also provide an update on the White Cliff underground project?
Yeah, the White Cliff underground MID leak has been, the leak has been repaired by MID. It's watertight now. They're actually moving water now through there as well. They'll be grading the area, again, bringing in some backfill and compacting, and then our staff will be coming in and taking care of the concrete curb and gutter, and then they'll follow up with pavement, taking care of the pavement as well over there.
Council, any questions?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go
I
ahead.
just want to thank Public Works for moving on that stop sign so fast. I had at least a couple residents reach out, excited that it was there. So thank you for that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Any other city staff announcements or reports? Engineering?
Good evening, City Council and Mr. Mayor. I wanted to update you briefly on some of the construction projects that we have going on right now that are going to be concluding this month. There are two projects. The first being Max Foster Multi-Use Path, Phase 1 and Phase 2. That's nearing completion right now. They are expected to complete it this month. There's a few final items that they're going through, and here are some of the pictures of the finished work that's been done so far. The Dwight Way area has been restriped to accommodate the new parking situation along the park edge, as well as new crosswalk striping and the path itself. The other project is Archelian Park Restroom. As some of you may have noticed, the building has gone up fairly quickly. They're actually finishing up some of the interior components, and they're working on installation of fixtures and other ancillary components to the project. It is expected to be completed and usable towards the end of this month. And that's all I have. If there are any questions.
Council, any questions? I do want to say thank you to, obviously, this has taken a little while. It's a large project. Are there, if I remember correctly, is there another phase to connect this piece that has been constructed to go into Max Foster and then around back up to Walnut?
Yes, currently engineering is working on a feasibility of 3 alternatives that will be brought back to council at a future date.
Okay, thank you. And just a quick shout out to the residents that were able to reach out a while back asking for this project to be done. And phase 2, which is coming up, which is the one I was asking about, is going to be able to connect Dwight into the complex and then back out around the soccer field and up to Walnut. So it could be a walk path all around. It takes, not that it only takes residents to continue asking, but sometimes it does. So, if you're out there listening, or if you're in here, just you got some ideas, and just make sure that you reach out to the city or members of the council and see what could be done, and then at least to be able to have things planned, because things don't happen overnight. First, if the idea comes up now, and then council just talks about it, and it's a good idea, then we have to include it in the budget somehow, and sometimes it takes 2 budgets to be able to complete a project. So that's why things get done over time, unless, we were rich and we had like all kinds of money in the bank, then we would just do them tomorrow, right? But the reality is different. But once again, just continue advocating for things around the city, and hopefully some of those things can get accomplished like this is now. Any other city staff announcements or reports? No? Okay, next we have city manager announcements and reports.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Council and public. A few announcements. Number one, I know that there's a few residents out there, and thank you, Mr. Upal, that are interested in getting a little update as it relates to Winton Parkway. We've been talking about punching Winton Parkway between B and F for a while, and as the mayor alluded to, it requires a lot of different coordination and funding and participation. So ultimately, it's supposed to be a 4-lane. We're going to punch through with 2 lanes at this time, and the lead agency on this is not the city, it is self-help who are actually building those apartments out there. And we're waiting for some bids in order for all the participants to give the okay to be to participate in the project itself. So what do I mean by that? You have different landowners. By the way, we thank the school district for considering providing some property to the city at fair market value, which is basically an easement and a right-of-way portion. There's going to be signalization, and so at this point, once we get we already know what the fair share is, but once we actually know what the dollar fair share is, we know the percentages, then we go to the next step. And so probably in the next 2 to 3 months, it should be completed. And I say that because, weather always plays, you can always play a role here. But the idea is to start construction in April sometime. So that's an update related to Winton Parkway. Another update that I would like to provide is we talked about as you know, we don't want to call them, we'll call them community funding opportunities rather than calling them what folks used to call them before. I know they don't want us to call earmarks, and so that's why we use community funding opportunities. And so I think so we're actually looking at going after some funding as it relates to, we looked at many different projects. So one of them is, looking at some funding for the fire truck that we already put an order in, or looking at the 99 lift station, which is also a very important project. And we're going to continue looking at different opportunities. One is with the federal representatives, but we also have state representatives, so we hope to, pitch different projects based on their priorities of funding priorities. And that completes my report, unless you have any questions for me.
Council, any questions? All right, thank you. Next, we have the conflict of interest declarations. Members of the City Council will declare an actual or apparent conflict of interest before discussions or decisions about any matters in which they or anyone with whom they have a close personal relationship could directly or indirectly benefit, or with such a benefit could be perceived. Council, are there any conflict of interest? Seeing none, moving forward. Next item, we have consent agenda. So on the consent agenda, we did have item number 6, pool, for separate conversation, and then number 9 is going to be continued. So we do have items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8. And I do believe there was a motion already, but I will entertain it again.
Mr. Mayor, I make the motion to approve the items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, and 8.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
before we approve a motion on this item, I would like to give a quick comment on, as it relates to item 4.
Go ahead.
So, Council, in full transparency, coming into the meeting, I had a conversation with staff about the potential of pulling this item and bringing it back for consideration at a later date to potentially re-budget this money for park improvements. We'll get to that conversation later when we have the discussion on the park improvements at Max Foster Sports Complex. I do think we're going to end up bringing that back at a later date, if you're open to it. But one point of consideration, especially as we're getting into budget for the next fiscal year, I think we've done a pretty good job And I want to thank our Public Works Director, this budget year, or this fiscal year of really beefing up our fleet, the amount of trucks that we've ordered. And while I'm glad that we have added capacity where we've needed it and beefed up that piece of the department, the number of parks and rec-related requests that have came in, not just over the last few days, but over the last couple months, have been overwhelming, to say the least. The community has made it very clear that they would like to move in that direction. So I would like you to consider down the line the money that is budgeted for some of our other needs, such as our fleet, in relation to potentially putting some of this money into park improvements or rec improvements. Not going to remove this now, but that will be a point that comes up a lot going into budget for next fiscal year. But with that, Mr. Mayor, I'll second the motion from the Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Mayor, did you go out for public comment?
I'll try it again. I will consider public comment. Is there any comments on the phone in regards to the consent agenda item 721? Hearing none, coming back to the chamber, is there any citizen comments in the chamber? Seeing none, closing the citizen comments at 721. Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Paul?
Yes.
Councilmember Wallace? Oh, sorry. Mayor Pro Tem Samra?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
Okay, next we have item number 6, which was pulled for separate conversation. Item number 6, consideration of adopting a resolution authorizing implementation and administration of a health benefit plan for retirees with BNSTAR Group Retiree Health Solutions. Mr.
Yes. So, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. We're happy to present on this item. Our HR director is here, and she'll make it up to the podium real quick. And what we'll do this evening is we'll kind of give just a little bit of history, and then in terms of what the next steps are. And then, of course, if there's any questions from the public or the council, we're happy to entertain those.
Okay, and Mr. Mayor, real quick.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you for coming up. And do point out if this PACE was a city decision or not. Can you tell me how this came about, please?
Sure. Good evening, Council. R.C. Cruz, HR Coordinator for City of Livingston. So, related to this item, back on July 15th of last year, 2025, we received information from PACE, which is currently the city's benefit plan for employees and retirees. And the communication from PACE was that through a review of their plan benefits and then also how they were being administered, we received communication that retirees of age 65 and older would no longer be eligible to continue onto the city's existing PACE medical plan. So with knowledge of that from PACE, we then engaged conversations internally to bring back an item for council consideration of extending the coverage for our retirees, which was afforded.
Let me interject real quick.
Sure.
Just a little more context for all the public. So back in the 80s, there was a part of the bargaining negotiations. There was a golden group of people that were basically given, full lifetime insurance benefits. That's not the case now for the bargaining groups, but those were grandfathered in, or I don't want to say grandfathered in. They negotiated those, and so those individuals that were here at that time. So if you can provide a little more context in that regard, and then we can move forward.
Sure. Thank you, Jose. So with regards to the groups that were afforded in their MOUs was the management confidential, the clerical, and the supervisory groups have language in their MOU that provides individuals with the city, employed with the city on or before July 1, 1989, would continue to have lifetime provided benefits after their retirement. So that's the bargaining groups that, were afforded those lifetime benefits. And currently, we have identified 7 retirees and 6 dependent spouses who are at that threshold. We have some retirees that are not of age 65 yet. We have 3 retirees that we categorize as early retirees that are not at that 65 age threshold, and 2 dependent spouses. So back with PACE, we came back to council and asked for consideration of extension of the medical benefits for our current post-retirees of age 65 and older. And that was approved through January 31st of 2026. And through that engagement with the retirees, the city was in a position where retirees who had yet enrolled to Medicare Part B, which currently we have 3 retirees in that scenario, it was going to take more time than January 31st to get them enrolled into the Medicare Part B. So with that, again, we came back to council and asked for an extension. We went back to PACE and their executive board, and the extension is now through March 31st of 2026, which is in about 3 weeks. And with all this, this is a very sensitive subject. Retirees have different needs as we've engaged with them in person, over the phone. The plan that we're proposing tonight, the council consider, is not a one-size-fits-all, but it is a plan that staff does believe will help supplement and complement as close as possible to the plan that the retirees had with the city. So with that, as part of the attachments in the staff report, there's a proposal from Benestar. So there would be the third-party administrator for the plan for the retirees. The medical plan would be through Hartford, and the prescription plan would be through Express Scripts. Now, I will point out this is a supplemental, so retirees, to be eligible for this plan through Benestar, they do have to be enrolled into Medicare Part A and B. That's one of their prerequisites. Additionally, they would have to be enrolled before the May 1st date that we requesting to implement this plan. And then additionally, one of the things that has also come up is the prescription plan would be effective 6/1. So that would mean there would be a gap May 1st. Actually, I apologize. There would be a gap of April, and there will also be a gap for the prescription of 2 months. And during that time, retirees that are enrolled into Medicare Part A and B, of course, they would continue with that. Generally, those plans pay about 80%. The supplemental plan pays about 20%. And then the Part D prescription plan, or the prescription plan through Benestar, would pick up the traditional Part D coverage. I will say that there is a substantial out-of-pocket prescription costs with this new proposal for the prescription plan, which is $2,100 annually that retirees and or eligible dependents will be looking at. So before the plan pays into the prescriptions, the retiree and or the dependent would have to meet that $2,100. Tonight's consideration is that council potentially consider that item and perhaps reimburse the retiree and eligible dependents. Financially, done some analysis, the city would still be in a positive position if that was a consideration in comparison to the current PACE plan.
Council, any questions? If not, I will go out for public comment at this time. And is there any citizen comments on the phone, 7:30? Hearing none, coming back to the chamber, is there any citizen comments or questions in the chamber in regards to this item? Good evening. If you can please state your name for the record.
Yes, good evening, dear Honorable Mayor and City Council. My name is Filomena Arredondo. I am a resident of Livingston. My address is 1246 8th Street, Livingston, and I am one of the retirees. I worked for the City of Livingston for 35 years, from 1986 through 2021, retired August of 2021. So I do have this retirement benefit. Those that were working for the city prior to 1989 have this benefit. So recently, we were notified that PACE no longer covers retirees ages 65 and older. And it's surprising to me to hear that PACE notified the city of this situation back in, I guess, July of last year. But the city notified the retirees in December. It was close to Christmas when I received my letter that it was pretty much giving me to the end of January. And the letter says that we are going to meet with you in January, I guess, and explain more in detail what's going on. I did call the city immediately. I spoke to RC and Human Resources, and I wanted to understand what was going on. She gave me some explanation. But it was such a short notice. If the city knew, 6 months prior that this was happening, why didn't they notify the retirees immediately to give us more time to look at options? We had 1 month. They gave us first till January 31st, and then it was extended to March. It has been a true nightmare to try to understand the enrolling into Medicare, enrolling in Part A and B and supplemental plan and prescription drug plans. It's all new to a lot of people. And then there's penalties involved for those retirees that did not enroll in Medicare. Our MOU doesn't state that we have to enroll in Medicare. There is a section in our MOU that states that those employees that were hired after 1989 would have to enroll in Medicare. It is clearly stated, but it doesn't say anything for those employees that were there prior to 1989. So many of us did not sign up for or enroll in Medicare, so now there's penalties involved. So there's a lot that we need to understand, and makes it worse when you call Social Security, you need an appointment, you can't get someone on the phone, it takes 2 hours to speak to someone, and then they tell you you have to schedule an appointment, come in person, you go in person, and then they tell you what it's gonna cost you to enroll in Medicare Part B, but then they can't answer the questions about Medicare. They tell you you have to call Medicare or meet with HICAP, which is an advocate and that knows all the in and outs of Medicare. I went through all those channels. I went to Social Security, I called Medicare, I went to the HICAP office. Everybody gives me conflicting information. It took hours and hours and hours of research to try to understand all these plans. I think I pretty much have it together. Then I meet with the city and they pretty much said, we're gonna help retirees with the penalties and, we're trying to determine how much of these plans they're gonna pay for or reimburse or how much. And one retiree hears the story in a different way, and then there's caps to
Can I give you 15 more seconds to
Okay.
try and,
There's caps to some, and then it's not clear that there's caps to others. It's just been crazy. We need more information, we need more time, we need more communication. Thank you.
thank you. Is there any additional citizen comments in the chamber in regards to this item? Seeing none, closing the citizen comments at 7:35, bringing it back to the dais. Mr. Samra?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was contacted by one of the retirees, and I told them that I would pull this item and put on there for comment, but obviously, that particular one, I don't know if they're on the phone or didn't hear us, didn't call in, but that's the only reason I pulled it, and also, I don't know, I mean, it's kind of difficult. I understand what Pilo's saying, you know, government is a mess, and I turned 65 myself, and I'm still working, but trying to figure out insurance, this and that, and all that, and it can be rather cumbersome, especially if you call Social Security, good luck. You know, they don't pick up. Oh, try our chat. It's just some stupid AI thing talking to you. Can you answer this? And all you're doing is just round and around, you know. But to me, I believe city did make a promise to our retirees back when they did. And we should hold our word to them. They held it for all those years. Now, I don't know about this phase, and I mean, I understand, you know, where it's happening. It's not the city doing it. I want everybody to know it's not the city triggering this at all. It's what it is now to the council is, how do we make our people whole? You know, I know that RC did a good job of giving us information. I think, in my view, and I don't know, I can't speak for anybody else, and it wasn't mentioned by our public speaker, but I think the biggest issue is $2,100. Can the council consider we put that in? That way, you know, if they're used to what they're used to, then what do we do? And also, I don't know if what we can do to help the retirees navigate to get this thing on their side of it, you know? What help can we give them? RC, I mean, do we have somebody they can call, an individual, you know what I'm saying, just?
Sure. So with the Benestar Group, one of the items that we really, they sold us on is they have a dedicated customer service team. So, you know, really next steps, you know, is if council does consider this item, obviously we need to get communication to retirees immediately, hold some informational meetings to walk them through the medical and prescription plans, introduce them to the Benestar team, and then also provide those resources. The Benestar team has committed that their customer service team is willing to help them retirees that need help with navigating enrollments into Medicare Part B and any other questions with regards to the plan. So there is customer support available through this proposal.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the retirees are aware of that they're not aware of it.
Yes, so at this time, you know, presently, this plan, since it's coming to council for consideration, this hasn't been shared with any of the retirees.
Okay, it has not been shared. Okay, I understand.
That's accurate.
Yeah, I understand, because, well, we don't have anything with anybody anyway, so you can't relate them. So it becomes, you know, I'm just trying to understand if folks are not used to it and they're nervous, because as we age, health is one of the main things that we deal with. When you're 18, you fall off, sprain an ankle, walk it off. When you're 65, it takes a lot of limping before you walk it off, you know? So I understand the concerns, and So it is just with the council, how do we help the retirees navigate through that if we do this? And can we make them whole on the 2,100? That's what I have, Mr. Mayor. I'll wait for you guys now.
Thank you. Council, anything else?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
would like to thank our retiree that came out to provide comment on this item. Would like to apologize for the shock that you felt when you got this notification that I know, or I'm sure that a lot of the other retirees felt as well. I can say that this has been a mess probably for everybody, and I do want to thank RC and staff for trying to find ways out of this from the second that they got the notification and presenting something to us tonight. As it relates to issues getting in touch with federal services, I mean, the Mayor Pro Tem alluded to it as well. It can be a nightmare just to get somebody on the phone. I would like to flag for you, Ms. Arredondo, this gentleman right here, Mr. Karthik Prasad, does work for Congressman Adam Gray's office. Whenever I need something from the feds, we go straight through them because they can probably get us a response faster than we can call Social Security. So I would highly encourage that you connect with him. He's always been good to us, answers the phone, and gets us what we need when we need it. And so hopefully that can help be of assistance moving forward as it relates to getting things done through the federal government. Quick question to the Mayor Pro Tem. Can you please specify the specific $2,100 payment that you're referencing?
What I'm specifying is based on what their coverage is now through PACE. Certain percentage of the prescriptions are paid, you know, their deductibles and all that. The way this would work, if we were to implement it, the retirees would have to pay first $2,100 out of their pocket, which they're not paying now. So am I correct on this, RC? Can you come up, please, just to make sure that if I understand this correctly?
Yeah, so through the city's current PACE plan for EPO members, typically there's a $10 generic copay. For brand name drugs, it's $40. Through this new proposal for the retiree plan, there is a $2,100 out-of-pocket cost that would need to be met first before prescriptions are paid. That is separate from the medical premiums that this plan has, and that is separate from the prescription premiums that this plan has.
Yeah. And Councilmember Opal, that's what I was saying, is that's not the cost that they were incurring before. So if we were to consider the $2,100, and I think that, and it may be the way to do it is, and I'll leave it to the smart people, city manager and HR to figure this out. They can submit the deductible, if that is, to the city, and we can reimburse them for that. So if somebody does not have a need, there wouldn't be any paid to them. So somebody gets it, you know, and they only have $1,900 worth of prescriptions, they're not gonna get the $2,100, it'll only be what it is. And if they go over $2,100, the insurance would pick up the rest of it anyway. So that's how I understand it. Am I correct on this, RC or Jose?
That's correct.
So what I'm proposing is that we put that $2,100 for the retirees, that in order to help them meet their deductible for the prescriptions. Everything else is the same.
Let me have council finish their thoughts, and then I'll consider opening it again. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, as long as there's a feasible process for us to go about handling those reimbursements, I'm happy for us to explore that and move in that direction.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Apologies, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say, so long as there's no feasibility issues in terms of the way that we would process those payments as a city and disperse those funds, I'm more than happy to move in the direction of reimbursement for the $2,100 deductible payment.
Okay. Sorry, I was just trying to manage a couple different things at the same time. Anyways, you know, it's since December when we first, as council, I think it was December when we first had this brought to us around there, or earlier, right? And, you know, well, since the first time that this was brought to us, we were trying to figure out a way, and time was not our friend. And even though the coverage was, like they shared earlier, was until January, I believe it was the end of January, you know, additional things had to be done to ask for that extension, but we were only able to get a 2-month extension. But it's unfortunate that things happen, but there is very limited options for us to work with, you know, especially with the insurances nowadays. It's I've had my share of experiences with insurance companies and with some family members just trying to make appointments with Social Security, and it's very difficult. So, you know, I just wanted to share that we try to do our best to be in other people's shoes and look at all the different alternatives, options, and even crazy ideas that we thought about, and just to see if they were possible. So, you know, I'm not close to 65 yet, but, you know, just being able to, sometimes helping others that are there, I can understand at least a little bit of some of the struggles that you guys are talking about. So, and yes, of course, I would be in support of that option to consider and amend the proposal before us. And then, so at this time, I guess if there's no other questions from the council, I would entertain a motion.
Yeah. Mr. Mayor, I make the motion that we recommend that approve the implementation and the administration of the health info plan with Penstar Group.
Yes. All right, go ahead.
Filomena Redondo, 1246 8th Street. Based on the information provided by RC and this city manager, this is the first time we hear about this plan. We know nothing about it. It's too much information. Retirees should be allowed to ask questions. From what you can read, there's a lot of things that we don't understand that we need questions answered. And a lot of these retirees have already moved forward to checking with the supplemental plans that are available through Medicare. Same thing with prescription drug plans. A lot of them have already they have it in place already. This is what it's gonna cost me. This is how much, you know, what plan covers their medications, how much it's gonna, they end up paying at the end of the year, all this stuff. So it's like starting all over again and putting this plan or voting for this plan, and it's pretty much set on stone. This is your option and this is it, take it or leave it. I think it's not fair. I mean, we need to discuss it further. There should be a presentation to the retirees so that they can understand this plan and then be able to compare to what they have already done their homework on to see what would be the best option. Even for the city, it may even be a cheaper option if you know, you help with the premiums for these Medicare plans, and then, you know, we go through the Medicare option. rather than taking this company, it's possible that you may even be saving money. But we just haven't had the opportunity to compare apples to apples and see if this is actually going to work for the retirees, or they rather go the other option. So I feel there should be more discussion on this
Okay.
before you vote on it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philomena, for those comments. I would like to just share that we are in a time crunch in regards that there's no more extensions, and the executive committee made that very clear to us. And the council and my staff, we pulled teeth just to get another extra 2 months. And we certainly apologize for, like they said, there's just a lot of moving parts, and everybody, every retiree has different needs. And as a matter of fact, there's some that said, thank you very much, city, we're actually okay with that. And then others that says, you know what, we're gonna look at our own insurance option. So there's different ways to go about this, and we want to be as open, and I appreciate the council being very flexible in terms of trying to meet, the intent and the needs of the retirees. And that's been our number one goal from the very get-go. But we also understand that it's going to be very hard to meet the needs of every single retiree. However, as it relates to education, helping you guys understand all of these things, well, it doesn't take into effect until a little further down, 3 weeks from now. But if council was to approve it tonight, we already have the team in place to meet with all of the retirees and their loved ones to answer all the questions and hopefully resolve a lot of the issues and look for different opportunities for you guys under what the council would likely approve tonight.
And then, Mr. Ramirez, if at any time after this program goes in place, if any of the retirees find an alternative, that can always be resolved, right? If it's better than what we have, and I think one of the main things you already mentioned is the deadline that we have until the end of March. If we don't provide anything before then it's going to take longer for the retirees to be covered by anything.
Yes.
Which
So
would be worse.
yeah. So like for instance, we actually have some aspects in the different MOUs where some folks have alternate insurance, and so they can opt out of the city, and the city in turn would provide in this particular case, the retiree with an incentive. We basically give them a cash incentive since they have insurance somewhere else. So that's an opportunity. And we also understand that there's going to be different ways to, meet every retiree's prospective needs, because there's so many supplemental opportunities out there and overlapping. And I can imagine how the retirees feel when we, staff, understand Medicare to a certain degree, and then us being involved in this from A to Z. Yes, it gave us headaches for sure. But, we're becoming a little more experts in it, and so we're going to be able to help facilitate. But our offices are always open, and like I said, we're going to start meeting with all of the loved ones and the retirees to try to address and answer all their needs, starting tomorrow or the next day, and so forth and so on.
Thank you. So at this time, citizen comments are still open. Is there any additional citizen comments in the chamber in regards to this item?
And since he's coming up, I want to also mention, and thank you very much for being so responsive to us as well. We reached out to the Congressman office to help us facilitate eliminating some of those penalties because they just do not make sense, but thank you.
Yeah, evening everyone. My name is Karthik Prasad here on behalf of Congressman Adam Gray. And the city did reach out to us, and we have been assisting them on a lot of this. I think you guys hit the nail on the head when you mentioned that it is very difficult to communicate with a lot of federal agencies. Especially nowadays, after all the cuts that they've gone through, it's made it very, 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 very difficult to talk to anyone at the federal level, and we are more than happy to step in and facilitate that conversation. If anyone is having an issue with a federal agency, whether it be Medicare or Social Security, IRS, anybody, especially in this transition, as the city transitions and goes through this process, we're more than happy to help. Send them our way, 602 West 20th Street in Merced. We will help them any way we can, and we're happy to partner with the city to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing none, closing the citizen comment at 7:56. Coming back to the item. So I believe that we had a motion on the floor by Mayor Pro Tem, and was there a second? Not yet?
No, because I got interrupted. so-
Okay. All right, go ahead.
All right, I'll do this again, okay? And by the way, before I make the motion, what happens if we don't approve it, then the retirees don't have any insurance, is that correct?
Yes.
So here's what we're up against.
Yeah, so after March 31st, the city manager shared, PACE is no longer extending coverage. So out of the 7 retirees that currently are of age 65 and older, all but one don't have Medicare Part B. So everybody would be covered with their Medicare Part A and B. It's the supplemental piece that this would afford that they
Yeah.
won't have coverage.
Yeah, thank you, so we have to do it today, we can't continue to another date, so.
That will potentially prolong the enrollment date of May 1st, and then
Yeah.
that's going to leave a bigger gap.
No,
That is
we
accurate.
can't do that, okay. That's why we have to do this tonight. So, okay, Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve implementation and administration of the health benefit plan for the Bandstar Group Retiree Health Solutions for the identified retirees and eligible dependents, and authorize city manager to city manager and city attorney execute all required documents with the provision of adding the 2,100 for the deductibles, for the prescription deductibles.
With the previous caveat that only if they meet the 21.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Roll call, Councilmember Upal,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Simmer,
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
All right, thank you. Next, we have item number 10, public hearing. Consideration of waiving second reading and adopting ordinance repealing ordinance number 650 and amending Title 4, Chapter 1 of the Livingston Municipal Code, Building Administration Codes, and adopting the by reference, the California Code of Regulations, Title 24, 2025, edition of the California Building Standards, and the 2024 edition International Property Code. Miguel?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, city staff, members of the public. This is the final step in aligning the city's municipal code with the state's recently adopted building codes. For the record, staff has not received any comments on the ordinance amendment that's proposed for final reading today. Although the city code will be effective 30 days from adoption, city staff has been applying the 2025 building code requirements as required by state law. we will just now be in alignment with state law. I'm available for any questions, and that's it.
Council, any questions? If not, at this time, I will go out for public comment. Is there any public, 8 o'clock, is there any public comment on the phone? Hearing none, coming back into the chamber, any citizen comments in the chamber? Closing the citizen comments on this item at 8 o'clock. Council? Any
Mr.
other-
Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
I'd like to motion to approve.
We
I
have a
will
motion on
second
the
it.
floor by Councilmember Paul, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Roll call?
Roll call, Councilmember Paul,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Semmer,
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
Next, we have item 11, introducing and waiving the first reading of zoning text amendment number 2025-1, an ordinance amending Livingston Municipal Code Title 5, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, and Chapter 7 related to housing development and standards, including definitions of street parking, site plan and design review, density bonuses, use permits, ministerial approvals, emergency shelter, single-room occupancy, and residential and commercial uses zoning matrix, and scheduling a second reading of the ordinance for adoption.
Good evening, once again, Miguel Galvez, Contract City Planner. City staff is very pleased to bring this item to the City Council. The city staff has been working on a number of housing items. This is one, as you know, we're looking at updating the housing element, identifying housing sites. Another component of the housing element update is to make amendments to our development standards, our zoning code, to make sure we comply with state requirements, but also to facilitate the development of housing. This evening, I wanted to introduce Ms. Jayla Smith, who's staff with J.B. Anderson, one of my team members, and she'll be making the presentation this evening. So let me turn it over to her. I will be available for questions, and take it away, Jayla.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. As Miguel said, my name is Shayla Smith. I'm a contract planner with the city, and I'll be presenting the proposed zoning ordinance text amendments. So as previously stated, this is a request to amend the Livingston Municipal Code to update various sections of the code related to housing development standards. So to summarize the proposed amendments, the proposed amendments will include adding new definitions for residential and commercial uses, including supportive housing, single-room occupancy units, low-barrier navigational centers, as well as revising the definitions for farm labor housing, emergency shelters, and licensed community care facilities. The amendments to this zoning matrix will include adding transitional supportive housing, single-room occupancy, and low-barrier navigational centers as permitted uses, and amending the permitted districts for multifamily apartment dwellings, emergency shelters, and licensed community care facilities. So this is the revised residential use table. Again, as you can see, with the additions of transitional supportive housing, single-room occupancy, and the revision to the farm labor housing definition, which has been revised to read as agricultural employee housing. And this is the revised commercial use table with the addition of the low-barrier navigational centers and the revisions to the permitted districts for emergency shelters and licensed community care facilities. In addition, proposed amendments will include revisions to the development standards for the R3 zoning district, specifically increasing the maximum site coverage. So this would, as it states in the table, will increase the maximum site coverage in the R3 zoning district from 40% to 60%. Parking standards would be added for senior housing, single-room occupancy units, supportive housing, and emergency shelters, as well as amending the parking standards for mobile homes. So as you can see in the table, parking standards will be added for senior housing as 1 space per unit. Single room occupancy will also be 1 space per unit, and supportive housing will be one space per unit, unless the unit is located within a half-mile of a public transit stop. There's a couple of standards that will be added for emergency shelters, including 1 space per 5 beds, 1 space per manager, 1 bike space per 4 beds, and 1 passenger van space. And then the parking standards for mobile homes will be decreased from 2 spaces per unit to 1 space per unit. The density bonus ordinance will be amended to add additional eligibility for housing developments serving transitional foster youth, disabled veterans, homeless persons, and low-income households. And the proposed amendments will also remove the site plan and design review requirement for multifamily developments in order to help streamline this development type. The amendments will add a new section for emergency shelters and low barrier navigational centers. So this section will include definitions, development standards, and application procedures for these 2 development types. Another section will also be added for single room occupancy units. Again, this will include definitions, permitted locations, and development standards for this development type. These 2 sections, the powers and duties, and then the site plan and design review sections, will be amended to clarify the site plan and design review process. This will include clarifying the Planning Commission's role in the process, and as I said before, excluding multifamily developments from the site plan review process. A new section will be added to establish procedures for ministerial approvals. This will include definitions, eligibility criteria, and application procedures. Another section will be added for by right approvals. Similarly, it will include definitions, eligibility criteria, permitting, and application requirements. The amendments will include adding objective standards for use permits, and lastly, will include the addition of several definitions related to various housing development standards and types. So that's the big list of definitions that would be added to the definition section. The proposed amendments are consistent with the adopted 1999 Livingston General Plan, specifically Objective 1, which states, designate and allow for the development of a wide range of residential housing types in the city, including housing for middle and upper income families to meet the needs of all Livingston residents. As previously stated, these amendments will add development standards for a variety of housing types, such as single room occupancy, transitional supportive housing, multifamily development, senior housing, etc. On January 13th, 2026, the Planning Commission voted to recommend the ordinance to the City Council for approval. Regarding environmental review, the proposed amendment is eligible for a categorical exemption under Section 15061, subsection B3, the common sense exemption, which states that CEQA only applies to projects that have the potential for causing a direct physical change in the environment or a reasonably foreseeable indirect physical change in the environment. The proposed amendments do not change the zoning designation on any individual property and do not affect existing land uses. The amendments will enable the city's zoning ordinance to be updated to certain development standards, site plan design review procedures, definitions, commercial zoning uses, etc. So staff is recommending that the city council adopt the resolution to approve the zoning ordinance text amendments to amend Title 5, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, Chapter 6, and Chapter 7 of the Livingston Municipal Code. And staff recommends that the council introduce and waive the first reading of the ordinance, amending the Livingston Municipal Code to update housing development and standards, including definitions, off-street parking, site plan and design review, density bonuses, use permits, ministerial approvals, emergency shelters, single room occupancy, and residential and commercial uses. So that's my presentation. I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Council, any questions? So at this time, I will go out for public comment at 8:10. Anyone on the phone? Any questions on regards to item number 11? Hearing none, coming back to the chamber. Any questions or comments in the chamber in regards to this item? Can you please step forward to the mic? State your name for the record, please.
My name is Patricia Zamora. I live at, do I have to say my address too? Do I have to say my address too?
If you want to, or you can just say Livingston.
Yeah, Livingston. I had a question. Are these changes being pushed forward because of the housing requirements for the state in terms of cities meeting housing needs? Or is this because of a combination also of maybe housing that's not currently available in the city?
So these amendments are part of the housing element implementation. The housing element is still in the process of being presented and adopted to the City Council and Planning Commission, but as a part of that document, these amendments are an implementation tool, so it's intended to open up different options for a variety of housing types that may or may not be present in the city currently. And it is, the state definitely is pushing for more of these housing types to be built and available, and is encouraging cities to amend their zoning codes to streamline these development types further.
Okay. Are there actually plans in Livingston right now to do some of these other, like single room occupancy or transitional housing, or it's just setting the conditions that it can happen, but there's not anything specifically?
So these amendments are simply just to amend the zoning code to add these development standards. At the moment, the city is not processing any projects for that specific housing type. It's just to essentially make it the standards available for in the future. Someone would like to build that housing and submit an application, then the city can look at the standards that are available and proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I just want to add a little more context to answer your question directly, Patricia. This is a combination. Most of the most of the changes are based on requirements from the state to facilitate housing. We did suggest some changes beyond that to really facilitate housing. We do have some proposals for to meet special housing needs, and by being able to approve, for example, a community care facility, it will allow a proposal to move forward, maybe something that doesn't require, something that's not allowed now, but it would be allowed under a process that's reviewed by the city. So to answer your question, it's a combination. One, we have to do it by the state to provide housing opportunities, but two, we're trying to be thoughtful and be proactive as to what we can do to facilitate housing opportunities for people with special needs.
Are there any additional questions in the chamber in regards to this item? Can you please state your name for the record,
Carmen
please?
Fuentes Gutierrez, Livingston resident. I just have a question. Is this going to be, this document for the amendments, is that going to be available in the city website?
The document is available at the city's website presently, but we can also provide a copy to you. I can get your email and relay it to you directly. We made it available through different ways, but it's available on our website, but I can certainly relay that information to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. If I can ask the people in attendance to ask all the questions, and then we can answer them all at the end. Thank you.
Dio Castillo. So I think this is a great tool to streamline some of the housing that the city has been wanting to implement over the years. And I'll give you just a quick example for the audience. Right now, there's parcels in town that are zoned for, let's say, triplex or fourplex. And even though the zoning already allows it, the current process the city has requires it to go to Planning Commission, Council, and then to Building Department, whereas other municipalities or other cities or other counties, if the current parcel is already zoned for, let's say, multifamily, as long as you meet the setbacks and the guidelines to build that unit, it doesn't require to go to an additional process of site plan design review, planning commissions, where if planning doesn't meet or council doesn't meet or it gets pushed back, it could maybe push.
Thank you. Are there any additional comments, questions in the chamber? Seeing none, closing the citizen comments at 8:16. And yeah, so basically it had been a long time since a lot of these codes had been updated, some, a long time. And so not only do we need to, and this is normal because requirements and things are changing from the state and so on, so we need to be continually updating. But it's also, as it was previously mentioned, we wanted it to also include items to streamline, to make it quicker, to make it faster, because, it's just easier for everybody, and it's also encouraging developers to come into town and invest in Livingston, because if they see that, just to build a home or a new building takes 2-3 years, they're like, well, I think I'd rather go somewhere else where it's going to take, half, even a year less. It's money saved. But yeah, it's just an update, but also to stay current with state requirements. All right, Council. Oh, see, that was my time up. Council, any other questions, comments, motions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would just like to thank our planning staff for bringing this forward, and I would like to motion to approve.
I will second it.
Motion on the floor by Councilmember Upal, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Roll call.
Roll call, Councilmember Upal.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Semra.
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you. Item number 12, consideration of adopting a resolution approving parcel map 2025-01 and exception to the subdivision ordinance 2025-01 to allow for the parcel to be split into 2 parcels and the development of 2 single-family homes with attached accessory dwelling units on the newly created parcels located at 612 East Avenue, Livingston, California, APN 024-100-036.
Miguel Galvez, once again, I wanted to mention that Jada will be making the presentation, but I also want to mention that the applicant, Frank Sequeira, is not available to be in person, but it's my understanding that he's going to be available by phone. He may be on, so if there's any questions of the applicant, I understand he may be calling in. So I just want to do that, make that announcement, and take it away, Jayla.
Good evening, again, Mayor and council members. I'll be presenting the parcel map and exception for the project at 612 East Avenue. So the proposed project is located on East Avenue. It has a general plan land use designation of LD low density residential and a zoning designation of R1 low density residential. This is a vicinity map of the project. As you can see, it's located north of the 99 freeway. The proposed project includes the division of a currently vacant parcel. It'll be divided into 2 new parcels to develop a 918 square foot single family home with an attached ADU, and this would be on each parcel. So each parcel would have the single family home and the attached ADU. The proposed project will connect to the existing city utilities from the rear alleyway, and new driveways, landscaping, and fencing will be installed on the project site. So this is a picture. This is a street view of the property from East Avenue if you're looking towards the project site. This image is just a little closer up so you can see. And then this is an image of the property from the back alleyway facing towards East Avenue. And this is just an image of the sidewalk in front of the property as it currently is. This is where the new driveways will be installed. And then this is just a view down the alleyway from Yagi Street. This is the proposed plot plan for the project. As you can see, or maybe a little bit hard to see from here, but each parcel will have a lot width of 53.39 feet, and there's a little variation in the lot depth, but around 148 feet for the lot depth. This is the proposed floor plan for the single-family home and the attached ADU. Both units will have 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a living room, and unit laundry, and a kitchen/dining area. And this would be the same floor plan for each parcel, and each parcel will include 3 off-street parking spaces. So this is the front elevation of the 2 units, but this would be if you're looking at the main single-family house. This is the rear elevation, so you would be looking at the back of the ADU here. And then here you would be looking at the unit on the left would be the ADU, and the unit on the right would be the main house from the right elevation. And then on the left side be the opposite, so the unit on the left would be the main house, and the unit on the right would be the ADU. So this application includes an exception to the subdivision ordinance. Currently in Livingston Municipal Code, it requires that lots in the R1 zone have a minimum lot width of 70 feet. For this project, it's proposing a lot width of 53.39 feet. Section 6-11 of the Livingston Municipal Code allows for exceptions to these regulations, given that the following findings are met, including that there is an exceptional circumstance or condition that affects the said property or reasonable use. The exception is necessary to preserve a substantial property right and permit the enjoyment. The granting of the exception will not be detrimental to public safety, health, and welfare, and granting the exception will not be injurious or prevent the logical development of other property in the immediate area. So the project presents an exceptional circumstance, as the property does have the necessary depth and lot square footage for the parcel split. However, the lot depth does not meet the minimum requirements. The project site meets the current zoning designation, as previously stated. It's designated as low-density residential, and that is what's being proposed in this project. The project generally meets the required development standards related to lot size, lot coverage, setbacks, parking, and height. The project will be served by existing city utilities and poses no environmental impacts to surrounding developments. And as the project is an infill development, it is already surrounded by urban development and therefore would not prevent any development of other properties in the area. So on February 10th, the Planning Commission held a public hearing to consider the proposed project. Staff presented the parcel map a site plan and design review, and the exception to the subdivision ordinance. At the conclusion of the public comment period, the commission voted 5-0 to approve approve a resolution to approve the site plan design review and to approve a resolution to recommend approval of the parcel map and the exception to the city council, subject to the findings contained in the resolution. The proposed project meets the policies of the adopted general plan and housing element. Specifically, these three policies related to infill development and encouraging the development of various housing types. As stated, this project will include both single-family dwellings and accessory dwelling units. The proposed project is eligible for a category exemption under Section 15332 of the CEQA guidelines for infill development projects. This exemption allows for projects to be exempt as long as they meet the following criteria: being consistent with the general plan and zoning. The project can be served by existing city utilities. The project site is less than 5 acres and is surrounded by urban development. It serves as no value as a habitat for endangered species and poses no significant impacts related to traffic, noise, air, and water quality. And these are all criteria that the proposed project meets. Staff is recommending that the City Council approve the resolution to adopt the resolution to approve the parcel map and the exception to the subdivision ordinance, subject to the attached conditions of approval. So thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Council, any questions? Seeing none, going off for public comment. Is there any public comment on the phone, 826? Hearing none, coming back to the chamber. Any questions or comments in the chamber? Seeing none, closing the citizen comments at 827, bringing it back to the dais. If questions, motions?
Just more of a comment. I've been watching that empty lot for as long as I can remember. I never did figure out why all the other homes got built, but that one didn't. Never understood that all these years. Only thing I ever seen is the neighbors, and we're probably gonna get a complaint here, they all kind of get together and build a little community garden there once in a while. You know, but hey, you know, nobody complained. Now, this was, I'm sure this was given to the nearby landowners, right? That it's on the agenda for the night?
Yes, this was noticed.
And we didn't receive any comments from any public?
No.
I didn't think we were gonna do that anyway, so. And we have done this before where we, even though it don't meet the frontage on some of them, right there, classic case was right there on Prusso in front of the school. There was a lot that was split just to get it built because one, you know, those lots are a lot deeper than they are, you know, so we have done in the past. And I am all for infill projects. I'd rather have somebody living there than a bunch of weeds growing, you know, so I think it's the best thing, so I'm all for it.
All right. You done? Wow, that. 3 minutes. Okay, all right, okay. So, was there a motion in there?
I don't know if the mayor has any comments or.
I think you said it all.
Huh?
You said it all?
Well, then I'll make let me see if I'm seeing the right one.
Number 12.
Number 12, yeah, okay, yeah. I make the motion that we adopt a resolution approving the parcel map 2025-01 with the exception of subdivision ordinance 2025-01 to allow the parcel to split into 2 parcels and the development of 2 single-family homes attached accessory dwelling unit and newly created map at 1612 East Avenue, APN 024-100-036.
Motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Roll call, please.
Roll call, Councilmember Upal,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Simmer,
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you. Next, we have discussion and potential action items. Council, I wanted to do a quick request since we do have a representative from Adam Gray's office and item number 16, no, I'm sorry, number 17 is related to a project that we're trying to do with the office. Even though he said that he didn't mind staying here until 12 o'clock midnight, but I do want to request, council, if it's okay, to move that item 17 to be in first. Since
No problem whatsoever. That was, we got our check faster. Did
Yeah.
you bring the check with you already?
All right, okay, so item number 17, consideration of adopting resolution authorizing submission of the Livingston 99 Storm Drainage Lift Station Rehabilitation Project for fiscal year 27, community project funding, and resolution authorizing submission of the Livingston Fire Engine Acquisition Project for fiscal year 27, community project funding consideration. So, Mr. Ramirez, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks. So first of all, we appreciate the Congressman's staff, especially the DC staff. As soon as the mayor brought forward, these opportunities, we started to brainstorm and figure out, what projects. And so we had an opportunity to meet up with some of your DC staff. And then suddenly it just came out so quickly. And so we were on it. So we basically identified, council, 2 projects that we believe that can be very competitive in this process. Keep in mind that the congressman can only submit a certain amount of requests. I believe it's somewhere between 15 and 20. I saw 2 different numbers in 2 different locations, so that's why I'm giving you a range. I don't really know exactly what the amount is. However, the 2 projects that we want council to consider is one is the 99 lift station, and let me give a little bit of a background on this. And I think this is a really good, juicy one for us to be able to get some funding. One, as you might recall, when the 99, old 99 and the new 99, or when the new 99 was constructed, basically all of that corridor over there was deeded over to the city. So we inherited from Caltrans that 99 lift station and everything else. Well, X amount of years go by, we had a really big, huge rain event this year. We actually had a couple of them, but the first one was the one that really caused some issues for us. And so we had to fix it and kind of put a little Band-Aid to it. And so we really need to put a new, basically reconfigure that and do something to today's modern standards. There's really no funding for this, and it's really limited in terms of where we can get funding. And so staff is really, recommending this one only because how did the city actually pay for it? So do we add it as part of our CPI that then in turn makes its way into the rates? We try to keep something that like this away from that. So this is a really good project, I believe, that can be funded. And the other one is, as you all know, we're looking at building our own fire department here in town. And so one of the things that we did was we put in for a new apparatus, a new fire truck, and we put a down payment down. And so if there's an opportunity to, get some funding to pay that off completely, that will also be very beneficial. And so staff is recommending that we propose these 2 to the congressman, and hopefully one of these gets funded, or maybe you might share, you will pick, I don't know, or maybe you can share a little bit more in terms of your process.
Yes. So, council, any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. First of all, thank you. Let your boss know that we didn't keep you all night, okay? So I hope that means both of these gets pushed through, okay? So, but the question I have is, I'm not sure if you can answer or who, but You said, Jose, that there's can be limited number of projects that can be proposed. Do we know how many the congressman has, or if he submit them both, does he have to pick and choose which one goes forward? Or can we say, we want both, but if it's limited, can we prioritize one over the other? You know, can we do it that way? Propose both, but say, if you have to pick one or the other, here's our first priority.
Yes, that would be staff's recommendation, because you never know. I'm sure that he probably doesn't even know how many cities are going to be putting in and how many projects, but we'll let you guys do the heavy lifting. But there's certainly two that are very needed in this community, and if we put them in order, I would suggest the 99 lift station.
Yeah, I was thinking along the same lines. I know that lift station is not as sexy as red fire engine. I don't mean in that way. I mean sexy is looking nice. Everybody sees a fire engine, but nobody sees the lift station. It's behind some bushes and nobody sees it. It just does its job. I get it. But to me, I agree with the staff that we had to close Campbell for a few days because of the flooding. And that tells me that it would be nice if you can get both, but I would rather put item one as a priority one over the other, but submit them both. That way, say our preference is, however, if you don't have enough projects, please try to move forward both of them.
Thank you. I guess you guys read my mind, but I was envisioning the fire truck, nice big red, better than but then again, just for additional information, the storm drain lift station project is $1,764,000, and the request for the fire apparatus is $1,236,985. So it's roughly about $500,000 difference. But yeah, I mean, both will be great. One, will be great also. But anyways, and then also just a quick update, the deadline for us to turn this in is March 6th. So, doing things Livingston style. It's okay. We can get it. All right. Okay, so at this time, I will go out for public comment. Is there any public comment on the phone in regards to this item, 837? Hearing none, coming back to the chamber, is there any citizen comments in the chamber in regards to this item? Thank you, appreciate that. Any additional questions or comments in the chamber? Seeing none, closing the citizen comments at 8:40, bringing it back to the dais. Not much else for me to say. I think you guys said it all. Any other? Yes.
Mr. Mayor, was thinking through which one of these might seem a little bit more appealing to whoever's reviewing this in appropriations, but honestly, I don't know if anything's appealing to Congress right now outside of ballistic missiles. And so if we already got a ton that was approved last year, and I do have that full list open, there's some cities that even received 2 projects like Dos Palos. They actually got 2 different projects through Congressman Gray's office. I'm happy to submit both and let them tell us no. As the city manager alluded to, there is not a direct funding source for the storm drainage project. I would like to see that money get injected directly into the fire budget, just given how large of a need that is for the city and the amount of money we're gonna have to put towards that in the near term. But that's something that we know we have Measure L for in our back pocket to help supplement. I don't know if we're ever gonna have a legitimate funding source for that storm drainage outside of appropriations from the state or federal level. So I would be happy to move forward with the staff recommendation on this one, apply for both or ask for both, prioritize the storm drainage and see what we get from the federal level.
Is that a motion?
If there's no other questions or comments, I would motion to direct staff to submit applications to Congressman Gray's office for appropriations in the next fiscal year, prioritizing the storm drainage project off of Highway 99, and then second priority being funding for Type 1 fire engine.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I will second that.
Motion on the floor by just a quick clarification, Mr. Paul. Are you going with staff recommendation, or is there any changes?
Going with staff recommendation to prioritize the storm drainage lift station and have the fire engine as our second priority, but to submit both projects to the Congressman's office.
So both resolutions you're approving?
Yes, ma'am.
And I am seconding both.
Okay. Councilmember Paul?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Semra?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes,
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
thank you.
Jose, let us know if there's a direct deposit tomorrow.
All right, going back to item number 13, General Plan Amendment, GPA number 2024-2, City of Livingston, 6th cycle, 2024 to 2032, housing element update.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, members of the public, Miguel Galvez, Contract City Planner. And with me is Mary Wagner with the City Attorney's Office. So this evening, this is the 4th item related to housing items. We have the Uniform Building Code. We have the update to the municipal code related to the development standards. We also approved an exception to allow the development of a small parcel. So this evening, we want to provide a status report on the city's housing element update with the intent of seeking direction from City Council to keep the update effort moving forward. As little background information, this is the city's 6th cycle housing element covering the period of 2024 to 2032. It's recognized as Exhibit E to the City of Livingston as part of the Merced County multi-jurisdictional housing element. The status report is, I want to go over the Planning Commission meetings recently, talk a little bit about the opposition that was received, discuss a little bit further about meeting the regional housing needs allocation, discussing options for meeting that, and discussing additional amendments, and reviewing any type of scope of work for continuing the effort. So going to the Planning Commission meeting, we had 3 meetings on January 13th. The 2 items were presented to the Planning Commission.
Miguel,
yes.
can you hold on? Mr. Summers stepped out, so just because we don't have quorum right now, so if we can just wait, please.
Certainly.
Let me text Mr. Summers to hurry up. All right, go ahead.
Very good. So again, providing a status report. The most recent action was we made a presentation to the Planning Commission. We presented 2 items. One was the housing element update. The other was the redesignation of 6 properties to meet the regional housing needs allocation and fulfillment of the housing element update. This was considered by the Planning Commission on January 13th, 2026. A couple things happened at that meeting. The city received 2 letters of correspondence regarding opposition to 2 of the housing sites. One was the property at 480 F Street. The other was property regarding opposition on property on Olive Avenue. At the same time, several of the planning commissioners expressed a potential conflict of interest with a couple of the sites. At the end, the Planning Commission continued the items, consideration of the items to the February 10th meeting, 2026. Staff tried to convene a special meeting, and we were able to get a quorum so the Planning Commission can move forward with this. However, because of noticing issues, the meeting could not be held. The newspaper published the notice a few days after it was requested. So we moved forward to the meeting of February 10th. At that meeting, the city attorney's office provided training on conflict of interest to the commissioners. And after much discussion to avoid any confusion with which meetings where we're going to be considering this, we ended up continuing the item indefinitely. Now, some of the things that have come up through this process is the city's ability to meet the regional housing needs allocation. Here's a quick update. The regional housing needs allocation is identified or outlined by the area in yellow. So the state pretty much says, okay, Merced County, you have to provide 22,000, you have to provide sites to meet 22,000 housing units in Merced County. And of that amount, 1,097 would be attributed to Livingston, and that's further broken down by income categories. You can see 311 of very low, 213 of low, and so on and so forth. So this is the city's mandated regional housing needs allocation. Again, the city is required to identify housing sites that can meet this need. The city is not responsible for constructing them, but making sure we have properties that are properly zoned that would allow this to happen. And so when the city was looking at this, we took into account projects that were already approved. We took into account a number of 80 units. We took into account properties that could be used to meet the housing sites. And we identified through a lengthy public review process properties that we would recommend for rezoning. We had workshops on it. We had public hearings on it. And so we identified 6 properties that would meet the regional housing needs allocation. Actually ended up a little surplus of 28 units for the low income area. Overall, the city has an excess, but when we break it down to by income category, we're kind of close to meeting that into the lower income, which is the low income area. So these are some of the sites that we have identified. I don't have a pointer, but is there a pointer? Oh.
This is the pointer. I don't see it. Right there.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Monica. So the sites that we identified, we have this site way up here. This property is currently zone R2. We're recommending that be zone R3, so there'll be a slight increase to the number of units. The properties surrounded are zoned industrial, but this property and the property to these are zoned multifamily. But we looked at vacant sites that were personally zoned residential. The other site that we looked at is this property here and this property here. This is, it's hard to see, I believe it's site 18. This site is there's a current application to develop that site. It requires a general plan amendment rezone, and they're proposing to develop 20 units there. On this property, we had a petition that was turned in by many of the surrounding residents around this. On this property up here, along Olive Avenue, we had a letter of concern from Foster Farms. So with that type of opposition, this is something that the city was looking at. Do we want to move forward with this, even though we have neighborhood opposition? The other sites that we looked at were this property right here and these two properties. These were the 6 properties that we're looking at to meet our regional housing needs allocation. So the issue really is, if there's neighborhood opposition to 2 of these sites 2 and 18, does the city want to move forward with the possibility that these sites won't be able to complete the rezone project because of neighborhood opposition? And so staff is looking at, do we move forward with the housing element that's currently drafted, identifying sites 2 and 18? And this is real important because we've submitted our draft housing element to the State Housing Community Development Department, and they say, okay, everything looks good. If you move forward with this, you'll have a housing element that complies with state housing law. However, to move forward without those sites, then we will not receive that letter of compliance from the state. And so one of the items that we're asking for consideration is to consider removing 2 sites, or site 2 and 18 from the housing sites inventory, and perhaps include replacement sites for that, identify new sites for that. This would require additional time. There's a 7-day public review period of any changes that we make. There's something that would have to go to the Planning Commission. We would then forward our revised housing element to the state for a 60-day review period. So we're kind of close to moving forward and finalizing this, but with neighborhood opposition, kind of put all of our housing sites up in jeopardy. Some of the other issues are, if we are looking at amending the housing elements, we will be looking at additional scope of work and budget with our consultant Rincon. They've estimated to do the additional work of the new sites in a total about $7,000. The other consideration that we have is we want to make sure we are in a position to present a house element that can be adopted and certified by the State Housing Community Development Department, where they can issue us a letter that we're in full compliance. And this is important for the city when it's looking at applying for state funding applications. Oftentimes, some of the eligibility criteria is you need to have a housing element to be certified by the state. Without that letter, we may or may not be in a position to be as competitive. And so we're trying to do the best we can to move this housing element forward, identify housing sites. And so we're kind of in this position, do we move forward as is, or do we look at identifying new housing sites? So the recommendation is if you can provide direction to staff on potential replacement of housing element sites and housing inventory, well, to meet the housing element sites inventory. I'm available for questions as Ms. Wagner. Hopefully that.
Council, any questions? Just real quick. So the goal is from the state of California is for the city to have, obviously very low and moderate and above moderate housing, totaling 1,097. And if I understand this correctly, this is within the time frame between now and,
2032.
okay. So what would happen if we don't meet the number that they are asking us to have within this time frame? Because there's a couple of things. One, we might not have the exact number of each section or each type of housing that they're asking us to have. And two, even if we do, but we don't meet the total number, do we get like a little slap on the hand, or they say, well, you have to, or do we get fined? What would that scenario be like?
Let me provide an initial response, and Mary can weigh in. The city is required to identify housing sites, so as long as we have sites that are properly zoned to accommodate that, we've met that obligation. Again, we're not required to have those constructed. The city's not in the construction business. If we're not able to present a housing element that meets the arena sites, then the state will not certify a housing element. I don't know, Mary, do you want to add anything?
In addition to that, one of the biggest things is that we wouldn't be eligible for, grants as well. And that's kind of the big ticket item.
And if I may, Mr. Mayor, thank you. So I understood your question in two ways. One is, what about providing the capacity in your housing element now and getting your housing element certified? And then the second part of, I think, your question was, well, what if we even, we have the capacity, but we don't actually produce the units during this 8-year planning cycle, which we're already 2 years into. So currently, the state has what they call the SB 35 list. That's actually the old name for it, but it's the list that requires jurisdictions that aren't providing, meeting their RENA numbers at the mid-cycle check-in to allow housing to be developed that qualifies under a streamlined process. So that's one impact of not meeting your RENA numbers. Other than that, there currently isn't anything in state law that would penalize the city or otherwise require that you do something different with respect to your housing element, with the caveat that you're making progress on your programs. As you know, the housing element includes a suite of programs that the city has to report on annually to HCD on the steps that they're taking to meet those programs. So I think as long as the city is proactively trying to accomplish the goals of its housing element, the city wouldn't be penalized if the units aren't actually produced. There are circumstances where units can carry over to your next cycle. I don't see anything currently that would have that happen in Livingston, but that is another potential implication.
Thank you. And for me, as it was previously mentioned, one of the biggest concerns is if we don't meet the deadline and we potentially are not as qualified to when applying for state grants, we can still apply, but because we haven't met, I mean, we are already 2 years behind, right? There's a lot of other agencies or cities in the state applying for grants, but possibly not having enough points how they normally score those applications could potentially not help us or actually hurt us in the process. But that was just one of the few items. I think most of my questions you guys already talked about them. But the other thing was just, I just wanted to re-emphasize that concern.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, address that as well, that you're absolutely correct. Some of the funding and the grant funding that's available actually requires that your housing element be certified, or the city would receive, in other circumstances, more points toward being eligible to receive those funds. It's my understanding that HCD just recently issued a number of NOFAs, notices of funding availability, and that cities are preparing and gearing up to apply for those funds. Mr. Galvez may be able to address that more directly than I, but you're right to be concerned about that because that's where you are in the, in the cycle of funding.
I will take a moment to just announce at the next Planning Commission meeting, next Tuesday, we are bringing an item to the Planning Commission to solicit comments for applying for CDBG funds in our community. And one of the requirements is, to have a housing element certified. But the city wants to be competitive in applying for NOFA funds to the CDBG program. That's a pass-through from HUD to the state, and we want to be well-suited to be competitive for that.
And there'll be 2 hearings. One of them, of course, will be with the Planning Commission. The second one would be on the 17th with the City Council.
Thank you. Council, any questions before I go out for public comment? So at this time, 9 o'clock, I'll go out for public comment. Is there any citizen comments on the phone in regards to this item? Seeing none, bringing it back to the chamber. Any citizen comments in the chamber in regards to this item? Seeing none, closing the citizen comments on 9:01, bringing it back to the dais. Council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
would like to address the concerns that have been brought up that are listed in the staff report and then provide some insight on my thinking for this item. So there are 2 properties, as mentioned by our planning staff, that there were concerns being designated with the R3 designations. The first one by Foster's, I believe that property is already designated R2, so it's already designated for housing. This would just allow for a greater number of units to be there. And so I'm not really super concerned about that. Now, whether or not it should have been designated housing in the first place is a different question, but we're at where we're at as it stands today. Secondly, as it relates to the property on the corner of F Street and Winton Parkway, I did count the number of signatures that were in opposition to that property having apartments on it at some point or multifamily housing. There were 117 signatures that I counted, which are substantial. A lot of the property owners in the area, or the folks that live in the area, did sign off against that. But one thing that I want council and the public to consider is that we are not approving multifamily housing at that site. We are designating the site to potentially allow for multifamily housing in the future. And while that does open the door for multifamily housing to be there at some point, the reality is that we are going to need more multifamily housing in Livingston. That's the requirement of the state, and we can't change that in a day. The risks of not moving in this direction have been laid out. And again, because we're not approving any specific housing at that site tonight, there's a chance that other sites in Livingston may end up going through the AB 2011 process, or developers might be interested in purchasing other properties where they do supplement those units, and these sites that we're designating today can always come back to be changed and reconsidered at a later date. So I do think it would be wise to move forward with the recommendation as presented, not waste any more time on getting our housing element approved, make sure that we're eligible for state funding, and then reevaluate at a later date if we would like.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I concur with both of you guys. One of the big pushes from the state has been affordable housing. California is probably one of the least affordable states to buy a home. And this is why you see states pushing harder and harder for the cities to act on smaller units, more denser, just to bring the prices down a little bit. Multi-unit, apartments, which that's what they're looking at, are needed because if you got a home $400,000 or $500,000, not everybody can afford it. They're gonna end up having to live somewhere. Do we put them in a tighter units, smaller units, or apartments, something like that? Yeah, you have to house them. Otherwise, where are they gonna live? And like Councilman Rupel said, if you don't move forward, we're risking a lot of funding down the road. And again, I too had saw that, and And I do, on the petition that was signed, I do recognize some of the names, but it's not like they're thinking that we're approving the apartments now. We're not. They came to me, I said, we're not approving the apartments. We're just looking at the zone. They said, well, why approve it? Why even move the zone? I said, well, we have to move forward. There'll be a time and discussion later when they come to projects for you to speak on it. So I do agree that Foster Farms, yeah, you know, it was done. I can't speak to why it was zoned that way it was, but it is there. But we also do have homes right across the street. We have homes there already, so it's not like anything new, it's just little tighter units. So I think we need to continue with this housing element and direct the staff to move forward. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so clarification, if we take one of the two items out, or both, we would have to go through the process and then bring it back and continue with the process, right?
If I may?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so if the council were to direct that sites be removed from the site.
Can you get closer to the mic, please? Or the mic, yes, please.
Sorry, that's usually not my problem. So to address your question, if the council were to direct tonight that sites be removed from the housing element sites inventory, we would need to go through the process to amend the housing element, or we would have to go through the process to amend the housing element to remove them, to revise the housing element to remove them, to have Rincon do the analysis to show that there's still adequate capacity to meet your RENA. We believe if you remove both of them, you would be short units in the lower income category, which is very low and low income households, very low being up to 50% of AMI and low being up to 80% of AMI. So you would trigger going back through that process. If you were to remove one of them, I think we would still need to do that analysis, but you may have enough buffer in the lower income category to cover that, but we need to do that analysis with Rincon to make sure. And I do want to stress a point that Mr. Galvez made, that you do have a conditional certification from the state for the housing element as currently drafted. So if you wanted to, and to address the council member's question as well, if you wanted to move forward, bring this to the planning, direct us to bring this to the Planning Commission for the public hearings on both the amendment to the general plan to add the housing element, revise the land use element, and adopt the rezonings, because recall, you're in a situation now where the state will not certify your housing element unless you adopt the rezonings, given the length of time that has passed since the statutory deadline. So if you were to direct us to do that, we take it to the Planning Commission, they hold their public hearings, make their recommendations on both the amendments to the general plan and the rezonings. We bring it back to you to take those same actions, consider the amendments to the general plan and the rezonings. You could then decide to amend the housing element at a future date. You could either do it now, provide that direction, we would go through the process, or you could decide to do that in the future.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. After I was going to ask that question, I kind of forgot, is, as you know, city is going through general plan and all that. If we extend our city sphere, does that mean this will have to be, say that this is up to, you said 2032, was it?
Correct.
Yeah, if something gets done, and miracles do happen sometimes, with general plans and everything, well, do we have to redo this, or how would that work?
So if you expand your sphere of influence or otherwise,
Extend the city,
you
yeah.
won't have a new RENA, I don't believe, until 2032, to the 27th cycle, but there may be some adjustments with the county if this is land coming in from the county, as who gets to count what units that are produced.
Because currently, city is limited on what we can designate because the way everything is right now. So we don't have a whole lot of options to move things around anyway right now. So that's what I was saying, that if we move, we can readjust that at a later date as well, correct?
Potentially, yeah, and again, recall that the county may have included some of those sites that are being pulled in. I'd have to look at that to answer that more succinctly. But if the county had included those sites in their housing element, there would need to be some adjustment of who gets to take credit for those units.
Yeah, I doubt they'll be that close to us, but that's fine. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, thank you. Council, any other questions, comments? I do have something else to add. So, you know, this is kind of tricky in many different aspects, and then also because later on we have another item that could potentially affect this item also, you know. So I'm thinking kind of like we still have to do a process depending on what decision we make, but I would be more inclined to consider leaving the F Street piece on it, but delete the Walnut one. No, I'm sorry, it's Olive Avenue. And if we do that, then later on, because I think it would be more beneficial. And probably Mr. Ramirez will add a little bit more context to this, but with the state agency to explain to them what we're going through right now. And there might be a way to be able to have good, positive results with our grants. Obviously, if we had the ideal plan, in an ideal world, it would have been best if we had all this approved 2 years ago, right? But with a lot of things that we're trying to work with, we're here now. But I would probably feel more comfortable thinking of either leaving one of the two items mentioned in the presentation, and potentially we will still have to do this process either way, considering future items on the agenda. So I don't know what you guys think, since if that is also an option for you guys as well.
Maris, if we were to, I'm sorry, through the chair, of course, if we were to entertain the mayor's comments regarding doing with that, how does that affect our requirements with the state?
So the good thing is we did have an opportunity to talk to HCD representatives, and in the first layer, when we talked to them, we're very open and sympathetic towards, you know, what was going on. And they were actually going to, if I remember correctly, they were going to write either an email or a letter to communicate to the other division, you know, that they favor, you know, what we're doing. So we feel pretty good in that regard. And the other piece to this is we did receive a letter, you know, from Foster Farms Legal Counsel, okay? And so, you know, taking in consideration all of that, staff, in terms of this particular item, if council, as the mayor alluded to, if you go with the F Street property, and then we work with other property owners here in Livingston that are willing and able to, you know, add some of their property for, you know, future housing. Since we're gonna, since we're gonna have to go in that direction anyways and work with our consultant, it's better that we just go ahead and do it, and then we have some buffer, some cushion, rather than just, you know, sliding through with the minimum.
I'm sorry, can you shorten it for me and say that we should keep the one over on Olive or not keep it on Olive?
No, not keep the Olive one, keep the F Street.
Yeah, I got that, but I just wanted to make sure that if we remove the Olive, that we're still gonna meet the criteria, that we're not, I don't wanna get dinged, you know, emails can get stuck in spam folder somewhere.
Yeah.
If it doesn't get to somebody else, are we in trouble? I just wanna make sure that we have some buffer.
That's right. So let's go this route. If we were to remove both, we wouldn't be able to meet, what we're trying to achieve. So if we were to remove one, we would be able to meet the numbers by, I don't know how much, but certainly Miguel can talk to you about that. And then it doesn't preclude us from adding other potential properties around town.
Okay, well, let me ask Miguel. Miguel, and I don't wanna put you on the spot, but I have to, I guess, in a way. How confident are you that if we remove the Olive, that we will still meet state's requirements?
When we look at the adequacy of our residential sites, this is a table on page 205. We have a surplus of 28 units in that low-income category, that lower-income category. If we remove the 20 units on 40F Street, we're kind of just like 8, with a surplus of 8 units. If we were to remove the Olive one, I believe the increase in units is like 12 units for that site. And so it gets back to, how close do we want to get to the edge? If we're going to remove any of these items, it'll open up the whole review process, and it gives us the opportunity to add additional sites to make sure we have an abundance of site to meet our RENA numbers.
As proposed, removing the Olive will not be detrimental to moving this forward in the state, meeting state's criteria, correct?
Yeah, if I understand you correctly, we remove the Olive Avenue, would we still meet the RENA allocation?
That's what I'm.
Yes, we would.
That's what I'm asking. No.
My only concern there is if we're revising it, I'm not sure we have to go through a whole amendment process once again. And I'll turn that over to Mary.
So I think you could do it one of two ways. If you gave us direction tonight to remove the Site 2, what I call Site 2, the Olive site, we could move forward, have those documents prepared, go through the hearing process, have it adopted, send it to HCD, and see if they will certify that housing element. If you choose to go that route, then we would reach out to HCD, we would talk to them, we would make sure they understood what we were doing and that this was going to be coming their way. You'd still want to have the revisions made to the element to remove the site, to then address the fact that it's already R2, you're losing these 12 units. So door number one, if you will, would be give us that direction, say do that work to do the adjustments that are necessary, go to the Planning Commission for adoption, return to us for a recommendation, return to us for adoption, and then work with HCD, submit it to HCD and see if we get certified. Alternatively, you could make those changes, send it to HCD, wait to hear what they have to say back, and then go through the hearing process with the Planning Commission and the returning to you, the council. So I think there's two options you could pursue there.
Yeah. I do
Mrs. Wagner, one other one is, would there be a third option, which would be if we wanted to give us a little more breathing room and we had other possible property owners that might be interested, we would go ahead and bring that forward. Can we?
Sure, and you can do it in both option A and B that I briefly outlined.
That's the way I understood it.
Just understanding it will take your consultant team a little bit of work to
and a little bit more money.
Make those changes to the housing element, and they'll probably still need that budget adjustment.
So it can be done, but I would be more supportive of what I mentioned earlier on, to
Olive?
remove Olive and move forward.
And do you want to send it back to the planning commission, or do you want to submit it straight up to, what's your next step after that?
Let me ask staff this. If we were to consider another property owner, which route would be the best, put us in the best position with HCD? If we removed Olive and we left the F Street, but we approached other property owners in town that might be interested in putting their property in this category?
My recommendation would be to go with option number 2, which would be remove the Olive property and then allow staff to speak with other property owners to see if we can find replacement sites. So we'll be able to address this issue proactively and make sure that we won't have any issues meeting our RENA sites. That does require noticing requirements and other considerations that have to be considered with the Planning Commission.
Yeah, and if I may add to that, I think you could do that under both options. It sounds like staff kind of prefers option 2 to get buy-in from HCD before we bring it forward through the hearing process, and you can certainly do it that way. In either case, if the council wants to add more sites, that's going to be beneficial with talking to HCD. As you know, they want you to have a buffer at all income levels. Our buffer right now for low and lower income units is not that large. It's not a mandate, but it's a good to have, particularly if you run into a no net loss problem where you have to provide alternative sites or show that you still have capacity. So just like coming full circle, if the council wants to remove a site, it'd be helpful to provide direction to add sites. And then we would just need your direction on which way you want to go, whether it's do that, take it through the hearing process, send it to HCD, or do that, send it to HCD, and then bring it back when we have their conditional certification again and go through the hearing process.
So to answer the question, I would be okay with whichever of the options are faster, where we wouldn't have to wait too long, but also having the opportunity to ask and potentially add additional land to our proposal. And at this time, I do want hear what the rest of the council thinks, because there's only 3 of us tonight.
But to me, I'm okay, Mr. Chair. Either way I'm okay with removing Olive. And then if we direct staff to add other sites and go through the Planning Commission, come back to us, how much time is there? Or is it, can we just submit it to the state for conditional approval?
You can do that. You can go ahead, remove the Olive site, provide direction to staff to find alternative sites, have staff work with RENCON to do that analysis, amend that, make those revisions to the element, make them available for 7-day public comment period, send it up to HCD for their 60-day review period. Or if you say, make those changes, bring it through the hearing process, that's probably a little bit quicker, but you're still gonna end up with all this review time at the end anyway.
Okay, then the question is, if we say remove Olive and have staff add other locations, doesn't it need to come back to us again, or it has to come back to us again, correct?
It will ultimately come back to you to adopt it, but you could give the direction tonight to move forward with the process.
With a conditional.
Give staff the authority to find those sites and move forward without returning to council. But you could also say, we want to see which sites you found. And recall, you do have enough buffer, I believe staff has indicated, to still provide enough capacity if because there won't be 57 units removed from the Olive site because it's already zoned R2, so it has some capacity to provide units. So this is, and I'm understanding this is getting complicated and probably somewhat convoluted in the answers.
No, not really.
Yeah.
It's not
But I think-
complicated. What I'm trying to do is, I concur with the mayor regarding the olive. I concur. What I'm just trying to do is to get this moved forward and done with. So, that's all I'm trying to do. I don't want to just keep running around. This is, I'm just trying to get this over to the state as quickly as we can. So, Mr. Mayor, do you believe that we should remove and then direct staff, or should we remove and send it to the state for conditional approval, or, and we can then bring it back for approval?
Well, at this time, I have to rely on staff to see what the best recommendation is based on the consideration to remove the one property on Olive. And then again, considering which one would have a better chance of being seen as, like, obviously we're trying to do our best, and we could, we're providing additional possible, a bigger buffer, and
So the recommendation from staff would be to opt out of the Olive Street, go with option 2, and while we go with option 2, we'll be interacting with other possible property owners who have sites that would, fit the criteria for HCD. And then basically we would be interacting with HCD because, as their attorney said, both, whether it's A or B, it pretty much takes the same amount of time. So what we want to do is move this forward, but also give us some buffer. And so by interacting with possible property owners is that buffer.
Mr. Mayor,
yes, go ahead.
I'm still not sold on the removing olive option. I would feel a lot more comfortable with moving forward with the item as it's currently listed to avoid any future potential delays and get this approved as has already been reviewed by HCD, avoid the additional staff time, the consulting costs, et cetera. However, I do want to hear more, whether it's from you or the Mayor Pro Temp, about what we are seeking to gain by removing the olive property. I'm open to it, I'm just not sold on it. So if you could go a little bit more into that.
I certainly would defer over to legal if legal wants to jump in here, but I'll just start the conversation by saying that we met with Foster Farms Management, I believe twice, and they basically were very opposed to the R3 designation out there, and legal received, or staff received, correspondence from their legal team. So we do run a risk of litigation there, not saying that they will, but so that's why staff is recommending that we eliminate the olive property, but supplement it with other property owners, and we have talked to other property owners. And because we're opening this door, we're creating more buffer for this particular item.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, and I'm not a lawyer, so this is going to be a tough one for me, and I'll leave it to the city attorney's office, depending on how much they decide to comment or not comment on how deep we want to get into this. But I'm puzzled by the fact that this property is already designated for residential property. So in theory, if somebody wanted to come in and develop it for housing, they could. And this designation of R3 it's still housing, it's just a little bit more housing. So I'm not sure what legal grounds Foster Farms would have to be able to say, hey, that was housing and now it's housing again, so we want to sue. Like, it just seems a little, I'm puzzled by that rationale, at least if that's the rationale coming from them. I mean, I guess I'll just leave it at that, yeah. It seems a little bit puzzling, that mindset, if that's what's being relayed on their side. But if there's anything other than that, feel free to share. But if that is the largest driver of the recommendation to move that way, just let me know.
If I may, I want to add just one more detail, getting into the weeds. On the Olive Street property is presently zoned R2. Now, with the R2 designation, it does generate units, but when we allow development at that density, it does not meet the low-income category range. We kind of have an understanding with the HCD that we facilitate development at a higher density, then that does meet our low-income area, so our low-income category. So even if though we leave that property as R2, it will not help us meet our lower income category. It'll be moderate income or above moderate income. The state has pretty much agreed that developing housing apartments at a higher density, that kind of helps meet the low income area instead of having like an affordable housing covenant or affordable housing funding. And that helps out a little bit. So removing it is one thing, but leaving it as is doesn't necessarily meet our lower income category.
Mr. Mayor, something else to consider, if Foster Farms is super hard pressed about R3 housing coming to that property at some point, they're always able to purchase the property on their own and make sure that it can't be developed. Now, that's money on their side, so they may not want to move in that direction, but it is a consideration for them. I think what I'm coming back to is we're not approving apartment complexes right now. We're just designating the land for potential development. I know we may move in another direction with other property owners, but as it currently stands for me, I like the idea of getting this set and finalized. We've gone through multiple rounds of review. With Rincon, we've already upped their budget. As we've gone back and forth, a ton of staff time has been spent on this. I mean, we literally have additional capacity from both our planning consultants and our legal consultants for this item. So I have concerns about spending more time and dragging this out. It was mentioned that based on how other decisions are made tonight, that can impact the way that we want to move forward on this. And if that's the case, depending on how council wants to move on that, I'm open to delaying the decision on this item until after we discuss a couple other items, if we can still move the item around in that manner. But as of right now, I'm not comfortable with removing either of the properties. If the two of you would like to move in that direction, you have the votes for it, but that's where I currently stand.
Mark, so in our situation tonight, because there's only 3 of us here for this specific item, does it make any difference if the majority of the quorum votes one way, or doesn't need to be?
It could, direction from a 2-1 would be sufficient. It'd be the majority of the council members in attendance tonight, just 3.
Okay, and then I'm okay with what Mr. Opal mentioned. If we consider holding this item, not making a decision and then just, would that be possible later in the agenda tonight?
Yes, you could treat it as a continued item if you wanted and put a pin in it and move forward with the other item, recall this item if there's no action being currently taken.
Okay, would that work with both of you? I mean, if that was something that we want to consider?
I'm okay with that, as Councilmember Upal suggested.
I'm open to that as well, but like I said, I mean, I'm pretty firm in where I stand right now, open to seeing how the conversation may deviate, but if you guys want to move forward on this right now, it's on you. So I'm open to moving, but, you know.
So even if we hold it, it wouldn't change your mind? If additional information comes up?
It may, I'm just saying that if you don't want to wait for that, you don't have to.
I'm okay with waiting, so.
If that's the case, Mr. Mayor, I would motion that we pin this item for now, move on to items,
14.
move on to item 14, and then bring this back up for discussion after item 14.
I will second it.
Do you need a motion or just, Mark? Do we need a motion? Okay, got it.
Roll call, Councilmember Upal,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Semer,
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
All right, we'll come back to number 13. Next, we have item number 14, discussion and direction to consider request from Micah Gallo of Joseph E. Gallo, Livingston Ranches LP, to amend the city-adopted 2024 general plan study area, prefer land use alternative study area.
Yes, good evening once again. Thank you, Monica, for changing the PowerPoint. This is regarding the general plan update. As you know, we got the housing element update. Now we're focusing on a broader item, the general plan update. At the City Council's November, I believe 19th meeting, the City Council adopted a preferred land use alternative, which is used as the basis for the study area for conducting the environmental review for that project. The planning consultant, Mintier Harnish, has been moving forward with the preferred land use alternative. They've engaged the services of the traffic engineer, the environmental consultant, which is Rincon also in this case, and they've been moving forward. We've been meeting with them. They're filling out the land use elements. In the meantime, we have received a letter, as you mentioned, from Joseph E. Gallo Farms, from Micah Gallo of J.E. Livingston Ranches, and they have three requests. One request is to amend the preferred land use alternative designations for their properties, which are generally located on the west side of Robin Avenue, north of B Street. So they're asking that the preferred land use alternative be amended from business park to, with a specific plan overlay, to a new land use composition, and they provided a map for you in their letter. That's attached as on page, I believe it's 238 of the agenda report. So that's one request. The second request is to expand the city's sphere of influence boundary west of Robin Avenue from Vinewood all the way down to Flint Avenue. That's the second request. The third request is by allowing this to happen, it would allow this development to be incorporated into the scope of work that's currently underway for the environment review for the house element. So the benefit of allowing that to happen is, you know, if the city's interested in moving forward with their proposal, the proponent can utilize the environmental review that's going to be doing, which is a program EIR for this site. It would require changing the build-out assumptions that will be used in the environmental assessment. I kind of covered all this. Here's the current, well, this is the preferred land use alternative that was adopted in November 2025. And let me see if I can bring out the pointer here. It doesn't seem to be working. Let me try one more time. Anyway, I was just going to point out, basically, if you're familiar with the site, Robin Avenue, you can see it has a current designation under the preferred land use alternative as Business Park. It's the area that's kind of purple bluish, and you see the diagonal sign, the diagonal marking, that's a specific plan designation. So the request is to amend that from Business Park to a variety of land uses, which include residential, low income, medium income, and high income, high density residential. It also includes commercial and business park uses. Here's the plan. I wish the pointer would work here. Let me see. Oops. Yeah, let me come back here. Yeah, it's not working, but, so this is the proposed land use development for that site. I don't know. Oh, thank you, Noe. Let me go back. So here are the proposed uses within our current sphere of influence. As I mentioned, we have low density residential, medium density residential, high density residential. There's commercial uses out here, and there's business park uses. So this is what would be replacing the business park area. The area south here, here's Flint, here's Vinewood, and here's Flint Avenue. This area is proposed to be added to our sphere of influence, and it would also have residential land uses and some commercial uses here. This is the proposal. Staff is in general support of making this change, facilitating this change. I think that the timing is appropriate for that. Now, one of the issues that we were discussing with the applicant is the difference between a specific plan overlay or a specific plan and development agreement. Staff prefers that we continue to use the specific plan land use as a tool for regulating development. The applicant is asking that we change that designation and remove the specific plan requirement and go with the development agreement. Let me kind of talk a little bit more about specific plans. Specific plans, just to show the difference, specific plans, there's a policy document. It's a tool for implementing the general plan. It serves a bridge between the general plan and individual projects. It's regulatory in nature. It includes design standards. It's for defined geographical area. It includes text, it includes diagrams. It specifies the land uses. It identifies infrastructure needed to serve that: sewer, water, energy. It includes a series of mitigation measures or implementation measures and financing mechanisms. The environmental review is often a program EIR for this. When we look at a development agreement is more of a negotiated contract between the city and the developer. It ensures that the developer can build according to the existing laws that we have now, regardless of any changes in the future. There's terms of how long this development agreement takes. It requires typically that the city review the development agreement every year to make sure that progress is being completed. It does allow for benefits in exchange for the developers to making sure that the rules don't change. The developer often agrees to provide benefits beyond what's the standards, such as providing parking or additional public financing of infrastructure. So there's a difference between how we would regulate development in that site. Here's kind of another summary. The specific plan is a policy document. It includes zoning infrastructure for specific areas. It serves as a mini general plan. And the development agreement, again, is a contract between the city and the developer providing vested rights for a specific set of time. And quite frankly, many cities employ both of them. For a large development, they have a specific plan, and once you start to get into the development of each individual project, you can enter into a development agreement. Here's just another simple table that kind of shows the difference between a specific plan and development agreement. The legal nature, the specific plans are regulatory, the development agreement's a contract, a voluntary contract. Both of them have to be approved by public hearing by the city council. The primary purposes for the specific plan, it implements the general plan for a specific area. The development agreement identifies what will be vested. The specific plan does not include vesting, where the development agreement does, vesting of development standards and fees and things like that. In terms of flexibility, the specific plan allows a lot of flexibility, can be amended as needed. Development agreements are different. They're fixed. They require mutual consent to changes. And we can talk about the content there, as I mentioned earlier. So that's kind of a quick summary between those two. Now, these are the things that I wanted to get into, the considerations. The timing of the request for the update process, we went through the process of updating the general plan. We had a lot of neighborhood meetings and things like that. Notices were sent to Gallo, the Gallo representatives, but it went to Peter Gallo, and then unfortunately didn't go to Micah Gallo, and so he was not informed of this. But he'd like to take the opportunity to say, hey, here's what we would like to do. But if we were to move forward on this, there would be some delay, but there's still an opportune time to make these changes. If we do make any of these changes, it would affect the baseline development assumptions of the whole general plan study area. That's something that the planning consultant, Mintier Harsh, will kind of have to revise, redo. The other thing is that if you do consider this request, are you going to open up to other similar requests? What if other people say, hey, what about me too? What if I want to have an amendment? Will you consider that? The other item is that, will the city council want to refer this to the planning commission for their recommendation or consideration, or does the city council just say, you know what, we've already heard this, we can move forward with this change? Again, we're talking about the study area for the preferred land use alternative. We're not looking at adopting a general plan at this point with this consideration. This amendment does require a scope of work change with our general plan consultant. It'll affect the budget or affect the schedule. As I mentioned, there's some discussion between the specific plan development agreements. What's the best land use tool for rate lane development in this area? I kind of reviewed that a little bit. The last thing I think that's appropriate is, staff is generally supportive of all this, incorporating the land use revisions that they're proposing, amending the sphere of influence to go to the south. Staff is, again, looking at the specific plan policy, but any of the costs that are identified by the consultants, like if he wants to incorporate this, I think staff would recommend that the cost be incurred by the proponent, by the developer, since they're requesting this change. So these are some of the things that we've considered. Ideally, when I look at this land use diagram that they've identified here, it does provide more housing opportunities, housing sites, as I mentioned, high density, medium density, low density. It does provide more housing opportunities down here. It does provide a variety of uses here. It can be business park or commercial. It can be mixed-use development. There's a park area here. So it provides more flexibility how this area can be developed. It serves to help meet our regional housing needs allocation for the present and future sites. Moving the sphere of influence to the south, it allows the city to have full development control of Vinewood Avenue. Oftentimes when half of the city line is in the middle of the street, you develop the north side, if you will, to the city standard, and the south side is developed to county road standards. By allowing all this to eventually be developed in the city, then the city can really apply its full development standards. It would be like an arterial street, and then you can kind of make sure that all those development standards and dedications are able to be provided, perfected, and I think that's a good thing. So going back to our recommendation, staff is generally supportive of the proposal, but the council should take some of these items for consideration that we mentioned in this report. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to respond to questions.
Thank you, Miguel. Council, are there any questions?
Mr. Mayor, do we want to hear from the applicant first? They are here.
We can consider that. If you want to add something, if you can come up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. I apologize if I seem out of it. It's a little past my bedtime. I'm more of an early riser and not really a speech giver, but I just wanted to give a little context. I'm not a planner like Mr. Galvez, but I have Michael Hayes. He can answer any planning-related questions. But this came to my attention fairly recently, and it was suggested that it may be beneficial for the city's housing numbers in order to change this designation for the purposes of the EIR. And so really, that's all that we're suggesting or proposing at this point. We don't have any plans to develop. To give further context, we're farmers. So the land that we have here in Livingston is pretty much all almond acreage, next to some existing commercial that's there. But the highway kind of landed on my grandfather. You know, we've been farming this area since the 40s. We've put new infrastructure onto our existing property. Most of this property, about 350 of the 400 and something acres, has been in the sphere since, I think, 1999. And so we understand that this is a long game for the city. We're just trying to be good collaborators and stewards of the land. I mean, essentially, in order to stay in this place, we've had to change the business that we've done over the past many years. And so previously, for instance, we farmed grapes. We used to have a lot of dairy cattle. Those things have changed. Now we grow mainly almonds. And so we also respect the community. My grandmother still lives in this community. My father was born here and lived here all his life. Our ranch is right down the street. I drive through Winton every day on the way to work. We still have to work. It's you know, farming is a tough business, and we also make local cheese product. But the point is, we understand that over time things could change. You know, come 2040 or whenever this stuff comes into place, it may be that the city wants to have the option of something with more density in some of those areas, but that's why we still put the low density buffer to protect the other farmers' way of life. And really, like Mr. Upal was talking about with the previous discussion, we aren't saying that we're going to build high density of any kind. The idea is just for the purposes of the EIR, you're maximize, as I understand it, I'm not a developer, that you're maximizing the opportunity by doing this evaluation. So long story short, we're open to working with the city, and in the future, you know, whatever the right tool is, I have no idea. And the bottom line is, if we put a bunch of work into a specific plan today, we'd be making up stuff that we don't know about, who the developers would be and what the city would want to be developed 20 years from now or whenever this is happening. But we are open to it. We care about what happens in this community, and we want to be a part of it. We don't just want to sell property. And again, we have enough water, and our almonds are in the ground. We're planting more almonds each year to replace those almonds. We're fine with farming for the next 50 years. We just wanted to create the opportunity if the city decides that they want to move this way, because we know that these EIRs are kind of once every 25 years type of thing. So thank you for your time, and if there's any planning questions, Mr. Michael Hayes is here, and appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. So, council, any additional questions, comments? If not, I'll go out for public comment. So, 9:55, I will go out for public comment on this item. Is there anyone on the phone? Bringing it back to the chamber. Any public comment in the chamber, please step forward, state your name for the record.
My name is Jean Okui. I'm from Livingston, and I'm very concerned. I'm very concerned that we're leaving so much of our farmland. And I remember that, I believe it's the same gentleman, Mr. Gallo, that says, we're not developers, we're farmers, when he wanted to change from business or commercial property to where he's put the 84 units of affordable housing. I don't know if those are subsidized or not, but I have a real concern. We're in the middle of doing a general plan. This is not the time. And I will fight this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional comments, questions in the chamber at this time? Seeing none, bringing it back to the dais at 9:56, closing the citizen comments.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I have a quick question for Mr. Gallo, if that's okay. Mr. Gallo, would you be open to? No, we did speak prior to the meeting, and didn't think to ask you this question then, so I will ask you now. Timing on this, obviously we've already moved past deciding on a land use alternative. We're going to have a consideration on whether we want to move forward with this change now before we get into the EIR. But from the way that you described it over the phone and that you're describing it now, like you said, you're open to farming this for the next 50 years because that's your business. And it sounds like you're doing this to give the city more flexibility.
Right.
So I'm curious, did you hear about this on your own and then you were thinking like, hey, it might be nice if we open up flexibility here? Or were you asked to do so by the city? Would you consider, just because I want to get an idea of what's really driving you. Is this a personal request or is this to accommodate the city? I think that'll help me make a decision on moving forward.
Sure. Yeah, like I mentioned, so I mean, I became aware of this EIR only recently. Like Mr. Galvez mentioned, I guess if we received notices, it went to my brother, and anyway, he's not involved in real estate at all. I'm only even tangentially involved in real estate. It's not what I do on a daily basis. And so when we became aware of it, we met with staff, and yes, the intent is to give the city flexibility. And so if it was decided at a later time that the city and doesn't want housing, let's say that they want something else in the future plan, let's say that they don't want to develop this at all. I mean, again, most of this has been in the sphere for 25, 26 years. And this other area, what was discussed with staff is that it was staff's preference, as I understood it, to have land on both sides of the road that is the city. So that, in other words, you don't have the county on one side and the city on the other. And so we're open to that as far as the sphere. But it is important to us to protect farming. And I understand this constituent's concern about protecting farming. It's a challenging time for farmers. And so we're trying to be flexible for the city if the city wants these things in the future. If they don't want these things in the future, then I guess you can leave it as a business park. We like I say, we've done our water analysis for the next 20, 30 years, and we think we have enough water to farm this land, so. Does that answer the question?
Yes, that is helpful, and I'm going to
Okay.
ask one follow-up. Ultimately, again, similar to the last item, we're not approving all of these developments tonight if we move forward with this. We're simply analyzing the environmental impact of this type of a layout. Now, let's just say that nothing moves forward. Council decides not to analyze this layout. Council decides to keep things as they are and move forward. Does that impact you negatively in any way? Do you have any concerns with us not moving forward with this change? Because it sounds like you're trying to do the city a solid here.
Yeah, that's our view. I mean, like I say, most of the acreage is already in the sphere. It's just in the sphere as an industrial park. And from what I understand, because of the industrial parks that have popped up in, and someone else could speak better to this, Mr. Galvez or Mr. Hayes, but from what I understand about industrial parks, there are nearby industrial parks that are better situated, that have better access to rail and things of that nature. So it's just unlikely that it would ever develop into an industrial park. And so if you wanted to develop something else at a later time, you would have to do additional studies. And so that's, I guess, the question about this current EIR is what level you want it analyzed at in this current EIR in order to not incur additional monies later, basically.
Right, definitely. And I do think it would be beneficial to analyze at a greater impact because we can always peel down. But one of the reasons why I am asking about your potential concerns if we don't move forward in this direction, I mean, I said this to you over the phone and I'll be transparent at the dais now. If we move forward, I do share the recommendation from staff in that I think the costs should at least be shared because we're going to have an adjusted scope of work, more staff time and consultant time put towards this. And if you didn't want to pay that cost, I can see that it would be reasonable to say, hey, I'm not really worried about this property that much in the first place. I don't want to put the money into it, so it's not a big deal for me whether or not the city moves forward with the change. And so if council decided they did want to impose at least some of that cost, if not all of that cost, would that deter you from still wanting to move in the direction of analyzing the layout that's provided tonight?
Yeah, so I mean, it's just it's a level of detail that we hadn't gotten to yet. We're not opposed to paying reasonable shares of costs, just so long as the process that we go through and the reasonable shares of costs are in line with the city's policy. In other words, that everybody is sort of treated similarly. Because yeah, otherwise it's not something that we are pushing for. We're just, since we just found out about it and had these discussions, we just wanted it to be something that if the city wants to consider all the options, it's sort of going the farthest so that you don't have to redo that work later, even if you, as you say, you peel back. So.
Definitely, and I did want to be transparent about that because personally, council, I am okay with us adjusting our scope of work and doing the analysis on the environmental impact. Now, what we eventually decide to do with the property will be a discussion at a later date. But I would ask that we at least share the cost with the proponent, if not pass over the entire cost, and I'll get your guys' feedback on that as well. Appreciate you answering my questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Judge. I'm sorry, Councilmember Upal. Seems like we're agreeing on everything today, which is good. I too did get a call from Mr. Gallo myself. I'm sure he contacted everybody, which I applaud him for it. It's a lot of effort. And I didn't give my opinion to him which way I feel. I just listened. Let him speak, say his piece, what do you want to do. I do agree that, first of all, I'm surprised that somebody would want to put the cost forward if they're agreeing to it, when they don't really have immediate need, but I can understand, there is dual beneficial element to it. You get something down the road, something changes, farming gets tough, and even tougher, I should say, not tough, but tougher, there's an option available, but it also helps the city to have some more wider plans, because that is right across the street, and it's already there. If we were to ever develop, I don't think it's gonna happen in my lifetime, but if it were to ever develop, you're just, a few thousand feet away from the sewer plant, and you're right there, you know? So everything is there, you know, and we already have all development next to it. I think it would be great, you know, because we have commercial there, and you put homes there, or whatever we put, it kind of makes things really compact and close. So I'll be willing to agree that we should send this to the council, to the staff to work on this, to see if we can get some sort of an idea of what the fair settlement would be for shared cost, because I think you already agreed. So and then I don't know if we need to bring it back to us. I mean, Councilor Poole, do you want it to, or you want to send it to the Planning Commission, or what would you want after that?
I mean, in the interest of time, I would ask that we move forward with whatever decision is made tonight on our side, and direct staff to work on it as they need to. I mean, even if we sent it back to planning, ultimately, we'd make the final decision anyway.
Yeah.
And so if we're firm in what we want, we may as well expedite that process. So I would want for us to come to a firm decision tonight and then direct staff accordingly.
I'm okay with that.
So, I just have one question, because even if we direct staff, or I guess we need to be more specific on this additional item in regards to sharing the cost. Do we have an idea, I don't know, staff, what it might, I mean, obviously, I'm not gonna hold you to it, but because I think it's important for not only for us here to kind of have an idea or an understanding what those costs might be, because, you know, I don't want to be in a situation later to where like, oh, you know, it's way too much, and I'm not okay with that. But I think it would be helpful to be able to have a rough idea what it might cost if council decides to move forward with this recommendation.
Again, don't hold me to this, but I would expect it to be less than $30,000.
To be no less or no more?
No more.
No more than 30? Okay. So.
And then what would be the fair split, or what would, you know?
So that was gonna be my next question. If it's, you know, if we use that number, and then if we're, based on what I was hearing you guys say, you know, 50-50, so that would be roughly about 15,000 equal share, and then probably, I don't know where we as council or the city might stand on that, or Mr. Gallo.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like a major concern. And so if the city was in a tough position and couldn't afford it because these other plans have already been made, I don't think 30,000 is.
Are you okay with 30,000?
Yeah, I don't think it's any kind of a deal breaker.
Okay, that makes it even easier. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, any additional questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
I do think it would be wise to have a specific number. Obviously, I appreciate the openness and the willingness to commit to something tonight, but let's just say it comes back and it's 60. Now it's a different story. And although I appreciate our planner's estimate, it would be nice to have a firm number to look at. And in the event that it is more than what we expect, and Mr. Gallo does not want to cover the full cost, I think the rest of the council may want to weigh in on whether or not we want to expand the scope and the budget of the project further. So I would ask council if you're open to directing staff to work with our general plan consultants to figure out exactly how much this is going to cost, what our scope of work adjustment's going to look like, and then based on that budget, having communications with Mr. Gallo, seeing if he's comfortable, we can move forward. But if there's any discrepancies in what the numbers look like, then we can bring that back to discuss what a potential split might be.
I think legal's trying to
Sorry, go ahead.
queue up here.
Mr. Mayor, if I might respond. So typically, we would be able to set up a developer reimbursement type agreement and then an account of some sort, and the developer will place money into that account, and any staff time billed towards the project would be drawn against that deposited amount.
So, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Councilmember Opal, do you wish for staff to come back with more firm numbers before you approve forward, or what would you?
If needed. So my proposal would be, let's ask that staff move forward with the intention of incorporating this layout into the EIR, work with our general plan consultants to get a cost estimate as well as a scope of work adjustment, then work with Mr. Gallo on confirming the price and deciding whether or not everybody's okay with moving forward. Let's just say there's any discrepancies on cost share and it needs to come back to council to approve more funds to the budget, then we can consider. So come back to council if needed, but not explicitly. If we can work things out just on the back end without coming back to us, that would be fine by me.
And just so I understand, Mr. Gallo said he's okay up to 30,000. If the numbers come at 29,000, do you still want to come back or move forward, or as long as it covers what he's already stated today?
So long as it covers what he's willing to pay, I don't think it needs to come back
And
to
if it's
us.
31,000, you wanted to come back to the council?
Assuming Mr. Gallo didn't want to cover the rest of the piece, because I think we would need to adjust the budget
Yeah, no,
for this.
I know. The question I was asking is, so that Mr. Gallo says, I'm set at 30, I'm not going to go anymore, and staff determines to be 31,000. Do you want that to come back, or do you want to?
If we can direct staff to just cover the additional cost, I would be okay with that. Up to maybe 40,000.
40,000?
So like an additional
on top of
10
the
on top.
30,000?
No, an additional 10 on top of the 30.
Okay, that sounds good. Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure that we have some direction there. Okay.
I will entertain a motion if there's no additional comments or questions.
Mr. Mayor, before I motion, I would like to give staff the opportunity to provide any insight or context in case there's anything that we're not taking into consideration. No? Okay, if that's the case, Mr. Mayor, I would motion to direct staff to work with our general plan consultants and Mr. Gallo to incorporate the proposals that were identified tonight, 1 through 4, as presented by our planning consultants, and work with Mr. Gallo to cover as much of the share that he's willing to pay and an additional $10,000 on top of that with city funds if needed.
Then I will second that, Mr. Mayor.
Roll call, please.
Roll call, Councilmember Roth.
That's okay, it's been a long night.
Councilmember Upal.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Semra.
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
All right, thank you. So we're going back to item number,
Before we come back.
We had motion to come back to the item right after this one.
Okay, that's fine.
all right, so let's go back to item number 13. Well, you guys let me know if there's any additional discussion or.
So, Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just some thoughts, and I forgot to share this earlier. Although we are considering, or we are planning to consider additional housing in our sphere of influence, It's my understanding that none of this land is currently within the city's limits, and therefore it would not apply towards our arena. Staff, please correct me if I'm wrong on that.
You are correct. None of this property is within the city limits. It would require annexation, require a tax sharing agreement, that type of stuff.
The property that we talked about with Mr. Gallo is property that's already within the city, that's next to the Tierra Santa that has already been constructed. So basically, the 31 acres that's next door.
Mr. Ramirez, is that parcel directly adjacent to the Tierra Santa parcel? Like, is it right, the one right next to it? Okay.
We're looking at this area right in here.
It has a canal.
All right, council, anything else?
No, so the only question left is, Mr. Mayor, our question, do we remove Olive and move forward, or do you, where is our decision here? That's where we're at this point.
Yeah. Where I'm at is, what I said earlier, what I mentioned earlier, is to remove Olive, and then move forward with, I believe, option 2, if I remember correctly. And then just also include for staff to reach out to other landowners to consider adding those APNs to what we currently have.
Is that a motion?
Let me ask staff, did I state it correctly? If you guys can help us here.
If I may, Mr. Mayor, just for clarification
Yes.
on the motion. So if I'm understanding correctly, you're directing us to remove the Olive site from the housing element, to work with property owners to find additional capacity to meet that lower income RENA number, perhaps with some buffer, to work with RENCON to make those modifications to the housing element, send that off for first a 7-day public comment period, send it up to HCD, work with HCD to get conditional certification again, and then we would return to the Planning Commission for public hearings on the adoption of the amendments to the general plan as well as the rezonings that are necessary.
All of that, yes.
Okay, so.
So that is the motion.
I will second that, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, roll call.
Roll call. Councilmember Upal,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Semra,
Yes.
Mayor Moran.
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 2-1.
Okay, next we have item number 15, consideration of adopting a resolution to procure new playground equipment at Max Foster Sports Complex, and 1, authorizing the city manager to issue a purchase order to the selected vendor, and 2, authorizing the city manager to execute a purchasing agreement. Mr. Anthony?
Mr. Mayor, if I may, real quick to our consultants, thank you for your time. Thanks for making the drive tonight.
Good evening, council, members of the public. Anthony Cheveria, Public Works. Thank you, council, for saving the best for last. But I know everybody's tired, so we'll get through this pretty quick. I'll be presenting a PowerPoint presentation covering 2 playground options for council consideration. I do apologize. I should have added an option 3, and that would have been for council to provide other direction. Staff did reach out to 2 different JPAs, which are joint power authorities, to ensure that the city received the most competitive pricing available. Both playground options were designed for the 5 to 12-year-old age group, which is very common. Option 1 is All About Play. All About Play has a hub in Sacramento, and our last 2 play structures at Arcalian Park and Luceto Park have been purchased from All About Play. Lead time for option 1, All About Play, is 6 to 8 weeks for shipping. Here's an aerial view of the layout. And just so everybody's aware, this is for a new playground structure for Max Foster Sports Complex, which would be right next to the patio area and the restroom in the parking lot. As you can see, the play structure has a built-in shade canopy to protect the kids on those hot summer days of 108, 110. As part of the city's commitment to creating recreational spaces that are accessible and welcoming to all children, staff has designed the new playground with inclusive features, including sensory-rich equipment. This equipment is specifically selected to support children with autism, learning disabilities, or other sensory processing differences. Staff believes that the design of this playground represents a meaningful step toward equitable recreational opportunities for our community. As you can see, the sensory panels and inclusive equipment is laid out around the outside perimeter of the playground structure. That is option 1. Option 2 is from Kopman. It's a little difficult to see, but there are 2 cell shade canopies that are incorporated in this structure as well. I know the background's gray and the canopies are gray as well, but there'll be that type of shade canopies over the equipment. So what you see there is not, those aren't cell canopies. So that carousel equipment, that equipment is an inclusive design. It encourages social interaction and does have seating for children with mobility disabilities. Here's more of a close-up for the sensory panel. The swing was designed to encourage social interaction and provide ability for children with mobility issues to sit down and have their siblings sit with them to offer support. So this equipment does have 11 to 13 week lead time. And I also do want to just make the statement of this is for procurement only. This is not for installation. This is only for procurement. I would need to bring back a staff report for council approval for equipment installation. I would be using our bidders list per the Cost Accounting Act and follow the informal bidding process. Both play structures meet ADA requirements. The proposed designs incorporate inclusive play elements intended to provide sensory and social engagement opportunities for children of varying abilities. Federal and state require that the playground meet accessibility standards under federal and state disability laws. And those primary requirements come from Americans with Disability Act, the 2010 ADA standards for accessible design, and the California Building Code. The cost, freight included, both structures have shade structures incorporated. A quick summary of what's required for California municipalities installing new play structures. 1, accessible route to and within the playground. 2, required number of accessible play components, accessible surfacing, ramps or transfer systems, which are all included. Here's the area where it would be installed. Now, I have read some of the comments made by residents on the social media. I'm seeing a lot of swing requests in there. And also a possible port-in-place rubber flooring. Just so council has a rough idea on the cost difference from engineered wood fiber, and that's what we use in all our playgrounds right now is engineered wood fiber. It costs us about $3,000 for that initial installation of engineered wood fiber. And the port-in-place, I got a cost for this area right here. We're looking at about $150,000 for the port-in-place. Big cost difference there is really expensive. But I just wanted to give council an idea of how much that cost. Staff does intend to budget for a fence installation, given that the playground is situated by the soccer field. So any loose balls that might be kicked around, and also because it's near a parking lot, and where cars will be driving. So we do intend to budget for a fence just to keep the kids safe. The reason there is no swings spec'd out is because staff did request an inclusive design from the designers. And the area that we're working with is a 65 by 40, which was very difficult to have swings incorporated, installed in that area. If council chooses so and would want staff to look into a different type of design, including other equipment, then we would have to look at the possibility of removing approximately 4 mature trees in that area. End of PowerPoint. Happy to answer any questions that council may have.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I did consult with our in-house expert on playground equipment. My granddaughter recommended that the spinning slides needs to be really high so they can go really fast. They said the ones we have are not high enough, they can't go fast before it ends up, okay? And second, they need swings that if your nana or your grandfather's tired, that they can do electronically, they move electrically. So those were the recommendations. But she did say that we should have swings, you know, so I'll leave it at that. Those were the comments from the in-house expert.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sure everybody on the dais did see comments on social media. I did get a ton of messages individually as well, like where are the swings? And I do think that it's important to have the conversation around expanding the area, removing trees, et cetera. Just given how large the volume was, I mean, I probably got 30 alone, or just combined with social media and what people that reached out to me individually. I would ask that we table the item for today, get another quote with swings included, and see what that all would look like. And we can have a conversation at a later date about whether or not we want to move forward with removing trees, the additional cost, et cetera. But I just think given the volume of requests, I would like to at least honor the aspect of looking into it and getting those details. So that's the request that I would make of council, but I'm open to hear what you have to say.
Are you looking for automatic swings that if grandfathers retire to push, they go themselves?
If you can find us the money, I'm all in.
No, we don't have the money.
Just one question. You mentioned a little bit about, and maybe I didn't understand it completely, in regards to making it accessible for people or kids in wheelchairs. You did mention ramps and all of that, but when it comes down to the surface, you mentioned, or the recommendation still is wood chips, is that what it is?
That's what we use now in all our parks for our flooring.
Yeah.
That is an approved ADA flooring. Is it easy to maneuver through? It's not. It is a little difficult, but it is approved. I did share the cost difference is $3,000 compared to $150,000. But that is a one-time installation though, for that area.
Anthony, you might want to also share what, the pour in place in terms of repair and how that works and the difficulty associated with that.
Yeah, we have to worry about vandalism, kids burning it, starting it on fire. We'd have to call a contractor out to make the necessary repairs. Does it happen often? No, but it does happen.
So, yeah, I'm okay with, I don't know what the proper step would be, if tabling or continuing this item, or it doesn't matter. No, I'm asking to see, because I know Mr. Paul mentioned to table this item.
Well, I guess I would say continue. So I would motion to direct staff to expand this quote to include some swings and then bring the item back at whatever date that would be feasible. And I already spoke, it's going to take some time, and if you could please provide some context on that.
Yeah, may I make a comment?
Yes.
So I would recommend that I bring this back, staff bring this back during the next fiscal year, early fiscal year. That way it gives staff enough time to work with the designers, because that does take quite a bit of time for them to develop renderings and different options and alternatives. If we take out 2 trees, will we have enough? If we take out all 4, will that satisfy the footprint? Then also gives us time to budget accordingly. So I would budget for this in the fiscal year 27-28 budget, and then bring it back early in that fiscal year.
Can you go back to that the satellite overview picture of the park area?
Oh, park area.
The other way, I think. Yeah.
The things with the swings, it does require quite a bit of buffer area for the fall zone.
Or what's the, how about if we consider adding the swings to the other green area? I mean, would it be to the right of it? Right there? That way, I mean, would it be easier? Would it be more expensive?
I would have to have the designers look at that area to see if we could accommodate that. One thing we want to do, though, is be mindful of people renting that patio area, because they are paying for rentals there, and you don't want to encroach into their festivities.
Because I'm also thinking, not possibly what could we do if we didn't have to cut down any trees? Because, and then obviously I know probably, we'll replace them, but it's going to be, I don't know how long before they get to be, providing shade and all of that,
Yeah, so these trees are pretty mature right here in this area. This is a pretty small tree. This one's a little mature as well. I mean, we would have to either eliminate other portions of the layout.
Can they be moved? Can they be dug up and moved?
It's probably too
The trees,
expensive.
no. Once they're, these are pretty mature.
Because the roots are gone.
Yeah, they'll go into shock. I mean, we might be able to get away with just removing 2 trees. We could bring this out this way to accommodate more room for swings. If council wishes, we could look at this area as well. But again, I would just be mindful of the rental area here because it does get rented out and there are parties here and barbecues and we don't want, to encroach in their area, especially when they're renting it and paying for it.
Or actually some families might even like it, that they have the swings there, just a way for them to, so, okay. Let me go ahead and open this item for comments at 10:36. Is there anyone on the phone with comments in regards to this item? Hearing none, bringing it back to the chamber. Any citizen comments in the chamber in regards to this item? If you can please state your name for the record.
Crystal Gutierrez, Livingston. You mentioned that in the past, the other 2 playgrounds, we've used the first vendor, if I'm correct. Out of curiosity, has there ever been any safety issues or any other accessibility issues with the playgrounds that we bought from those vendors?
As of today, no.
And then if you can just remind me of the cost difference of the wood chips versus, what was the other option?
Poured-in-place rubber.
Okay.
And then hardens up after you let it cure. That is an approved ADA flooring. It's approximately, for this area, it'll take about $3,000 or so for the initial fill. Every year, we might have to top it off as it wears and decomposes over time. Maybe we're adding $500 to $800 worth of wood chips every 2 years or so, just to fill.
And how does that react with the heat? Because I know, at least from a sports background, and I don't know if this is related at all, but with like rubber and turf, sometimes it gets
warm.
really
It gets
warm,
warm.
and then we run into another, maybe another safety issue for kids. But I know we do want to make playgrounds accessible for as many children as possible. So if you can just provide a little bit more context on, the pros and cons, because we do live in an area that gets really hot.
Yeah, and that is one of the cons, rubber. It's gonna attract heat and retain heat a lot longer than the wood chips will. They don't really get too warm and they don't hold in heat like rubber does. So that is one of the cons of rubber.
Would there be a possibility maybe for the portion where more of the area of the playground with the more sensory inclusive, where we could put a portion that is not the wood chips? That way kids that might have accessibility issues would be able to access easier for a portion of the
that's a
playground?
possibility that we could work with the designer to provide a couple of options and layouts and what that would look like. I'm sure we would need to have some type of small footing, and probably be some type of rubber footing, just to separate and keep the wood chips from being kicked over into the rubberized flooring area. But yeah, that's a possibility.
And then the last thing in terms of exploring that middle area, the reason that I would agree with cautioning against it is just because although some families might enjoy having it next to them while they are renting out for parties. I also know that when there are parties, at times there may be like alcohol involved or other things where we might want to keep the kids a little bit separate for safety issues. And like you mentioned, people are renting out that area. So although it would be nice to not have to move the trees because they provide shade, maybe exploring the option where moving the 2 instead of the 4 trees. Just more of a comment.
Thank you. Is there any additional comments in the chamber? Seeing none, closing the citizen comments at 10:40, bringing it back to the dais. So I would agree with continuing this item. Do we need a motion? So, yes.
Can I ask council if they would like staff to look at the cost as well for the rubberized, the poured-in-place flooring, or is that a cost too high right now?
I personally,
As the mayor is waiting to respond, I'll just say that alcohol is not allowed at any of the parks. And so just wanted to clarify that for you.
I've drank beer over there during 4th of July. We have beer gardens.
all right. So I believe there was a motion on the floor to continue the item by Mayor Pro Tem. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Just to continue the item?
Yes.
Or are we giving direction on what they want, what you want?
To continue the item and bring back quotes, and potential options for swings.
So even though Mr. Summer was not speaking on the mic, he did say that he would amend the motion to that.
I'll go on record. I will amend my motion for that.
Roll call, please.
Roll call. Councilmember Upal?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Summer?
Yes.
Mayor Moran?
Yes.
Motion passes by a vote of 3-0.
All right. I think we're done with all those items. Yes, okay. Next, we have announcements and reports. Councilmember Upal?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple. So first things first, I'd like to shout out Tarika Smith and the group of volunteers that worked with her to host a free grocery giveaway this weekend. They were at Memorial Park giving away free groceries to the community, built entirely through, I think they have some funding for it, but also some donations. They'll be there on the 4th Saturday of every month. They'll be at Memorial Park in March on Saturday, March 28th from 2 to 3 p.m. I believe there is already a flyer circulating on that. Really appreciate what they're doing. I mean, definition of selfless service, and it means a lot that they're out there giving some food away in tough times. Second thing that I'd like to share, got a message today from folks with the LHS All Alumni Club. Their scholarship applications are now open for LHS class of 2026, as well as general alumni that graduated from Livingston High School. This is the only nonprofit that specifically serves LHS alumni and LHS alumni only. And they have multiple scholarships that are open due March 18th, including the Luis Aguilar Memorial Scholarship, a STEM scholarship, a general scholarship for LHS seniors, a general scholarship for LHS alumni, and the Jacobs Family Memorial Scholarship. So I'll post this information online, but I do want to shout out Ms. Deborah J.R. for staying engaged with the community and having this money ready for our alumni. No other comments.
Mayor Pro Tem Samra?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For me, a couple of weeks back, MCAG had their meeting regarding our request for some projects. Even though the majority approved it, it didn't meet the quorum majority. The majority present did it, but not the total quorum. So, but unfortunately, the county supervisors were not at the meeting. And so, but we did look to it, and MCAG is gonna bring the issue back, that we have the full one. So the next MCAG meeting, we'll be bringing this item up again for discussion. Just want everybody to know that where we're at on that, okay? That's it. That's all I have right now.
Thank you. Just a couple of announcements, or just one. Just FYI, we are working with the Mexican consulate from Fresno to possibly bring some of their services in April. So I think we're still trying to define an exact date, but we're hoping that in April we will be bringing back some of the services here locally for anybody that needs to access those services as well. And as Councilmember Paul mentioned, thank you to Food Comida para Todos. It's that was the first time, not the first time, but the first time that they're coming back again to Livingston and providing groceries. I was amazed by the amount of groceries that were there. If you've been to Memorial Park, the shelter, all of those tables, all of them were full of groceries. And it was great, having the opportunity to provide it to the community. And I do want to say thank you to city staff and to Recreation Department for being able to work with them to be able to provide a location, a adequate location in the city for them to provide those services. So thank you to everybody involved at the city. And that will be it for me at this time. Next, we have council directions on future agenda items.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Before we adjourn, I forgot to state one simple thing. May I?
Sure, go ahead.
Just so everybody knows, I spoke with the interim chief now. March 29th, the Peachtree Gordo will be having their Narigiten. I just want to let them know. And then we'll be, the folks from the temple of Gurdwara will be coming to the staff to pull their permit.
Thank you. Anything else? If not, meeting is adjourned at 10:47.
Mr. Mayor, sorry,
Yes.
future agenda items.
Yeah, that's what I called for.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought Mr. Samra was entering that into his
Go ahead.
his reports. I do have a couple for future agenda items. I know staff is already working on this, but just want to make sure that we end up with a date on this mid-year budget report for fiscal year 25-26. Next meeting? Okay. Talked about it a little bit earlier as it relates to the state and federal legislative priorities. We're not going to move forward with that until we have our strategic priorities set. And we've had multiple conversations about making sure our strategic plan is set before we approve our budget. So making sure that we have a date to consider a strategic plan before we approve our final budget, likely sometime April, early May-ish, I'm assuming. And then this one's a little bit broad, and I'll leave it to council and staff discretion on how much time this is going to take to get here. Alluded to this a little bit earlier. There have been a ton, like just a massive volume of requests as it relates to parks and facilities improvements. We know that there's been requests to add an additional soccer field. I know that Mr. Ramirez has already explored that. There are a lot of requests from folks that live near Frederick Worden Park to have a trail in that park, a shade structure in that park for students that are waiting for the bus and are standing under the rain. There are folks that have a lot of requests related to swings. Many folks have requests for a dog park, a skate park, we're well aware that we can't just fund all of that stuff at once, but just given how many folks have asked for those types of things, I do think it would be nice for the city to have, even if it's just very generic, general ballparks, this is how much something like this would likely cost and how long it would take, so that we have something to reference off of, relate to the constituents, and then potentially budget for in future fiscal years. And so I can send a more detailed email to staff and if any member of the council is interested in moving in that direction. But I would like some point in the next a couple or few months to have a broad conversation about those requests and what they look like.
Council, anything else? All right, meeting adjourned 10:50. Good night.